Chapter 1209. Jiang Wang didn't have much to prepare. He went to the stable and got Yin Zhao. With a long sword hanging from his waist and a green robe, he left the residence and headed to the Li Gate. Of course, he wouldn't gallop wildly in the busy city. Yin Zhao was also very intelligent. He walked very steadily and knew how to avoid pedestrians. At this moment, an old man walked over shakily in front of him. Yin Zhao snorted, turned his hooves, and moved to the side. Jiang Wang could clearly see that the old man had also turned around. Then, just in front of Yin Zhao's hooves, he slowly lay down. He shouted weakly, "Someone's dead." Judging from his aura, he was an ordinary person. He was wearing rough hemp clothes and had 2 patches on his body. He was washed clean. Jiang Wang was speechless. He pulled the reins and steered the horse to the side, afraid that Yin Zhao would really accidentally trample him to death. "You can't leave," the old man shouted again. He shouted, "Everyone come and see. You won't care if you cripple someone." "I'll talk." Jiang Wang looked down at him from the back of the horse. He took out the blue metal and waved it in front of his eyes. "Shouldn't you look at the person you're blackmailing? I'm very curious. With your professional ability, how did you live to this age?" The old man raised his body and narrowed his eyes to look for a while, as if he was distinguishing between real and fake. Then he lay down again. He shouted loudly, "Everyone come and see. The blue metal's horse killed someone." Jiang Wang. He really valued money more than his life. The blue metal's death was indeed a hot topic. The crowd, which had been slowly gathering, suddenly sped up. The crowd surged over in an instant. The voices of pointing and whispering were endless. If he left now, it would really be hard to explain. Jiang Wang sighed. "If you don't get up, I'll let the patrol office handle this matter." "Are you trying to scare me?" The old man glared at him. "I'm warning you. I injured my brain when I was young. I can't be scared. If something happens to him because of you, you also seem to have a brain injury. Were you beaten when you were young?" Jiang Wang said faintly. "You're threatening me again, aren't you?" The old man shouted in all directions, "Fellow villagers of Linzi, take a look." At the foot of the Son of Heaven, a blue metal rode his horse and hit me, an 80-year-old old man. He even threatened to hit me. The onlookers also glared at him. There were even a few youngsters who were eager to get rid of the strong and help the weak, rolling up their sleeves. Jiang Wang felt helpless. All right. He took out a string of money. "Hurry up and take the money. You should have done this earlier." The old man quickly got up, grabbed the money in Jiang Wang's hand, and began to count it happily. Seeing this scene, everyone knew that this old man was extorting them. Bang! The righteous crowd dispersed. Jiang Wang didn't pay any attention to him and turned his horse to leave. As for this old man who was extorting people on the street, the inspector's office would teach him how to turn over a new leaf. If he didn't get back 10 times the money, he would have wasted his 4th-grade blue medal. "Hey, young man, wait a moment." The old man stretched out his arm and blocked the horse. "It's fate that brought us together. Why don't we make another deal?" He seemed to want a yard after getting an inch. Jiang Wang looked at him. Oh, this old man had a thin appearance. If it weren't for the fact that he was rolling on the ground and holding the money in his hand, at first glance, he really did look like an immortal. "What? You don't really think that I was extorting you just now, do you? I'm already so old. Do I really need to do something that will end my bloodline?" Jiang Wang didn't know how to respond. This old man was too cruel to him. The old man casually stuffed the string of money into his pocket and said, "I was shocked by you just now and fell down. Don't tell me that you shouldn't take responsibility. This money is already too cheap for you." Jiang Wang was so angry that he laughed. "Didn't you just say that you were knocked down by the horse?" The old man waved his hand. "That's about it. That's what I meant. In any case, you caused me to fall. You know very well how you fell." "Great. Now you're going back on your word," the old man said with conviction. "If you didn't cause me to fall, why would you compensate me?" "Old man, don't talk nonsense. Things like retribution aren't necessarily out of the question." Jiang Wang pulled the reins and had Yin Zhao take a detour. "I still have things to do. I'm leaving." The old man took a step back. For some reason, he stopped in front of the horse again. He blew his beard and said, You still don't believe this old man. This old man has a proper job. Okay? I'm a proper person. Jiang Wang's pupils shrank slightly. He actually didn't notice just now how this old man stopped Yin Zhao. The usually unruly Yin Zhao seemed to have sensed something and was very docile at this time. Old man. Jiang Wang looked at him seriously. I'll let you know that my tolerance for ordinary people and extraordinary cultivators is different. Because there is some anger that ordinary people can't bear, I will restrain myself. Now, let me ask you, are you sure you want to continue pestering me here? No matter who this old man was, no matter how deep he hid. This was Lindsay. Whether he was a dragon or a tiger, he had to kneel. He had to kneel properly. Oh, you're young. Don't be so serious. You'll get wrinkles easily. The old man came closer and reached out to stroke Yin Zhao's fiery red mane. Yin Zhao actually let him touch it obediently. He chuckled and looked up at Jiang Wang. How about this? This old man will read your face. I'll make it up to you for wasting a bit of your time. Read my face. Jiang Wang raised his eyebrows. This is the proper job you were talking about? The old man didn't get angry. He smiled and said, It's better than a brothel pimp, right? Jiang Wang didn't know what to say for a moment. This old man's words had a hidden meaning. Thank you for one primeval stone. The old man stretched out a skinny finger. Jiang Wang only pulled on the reins. No need. Hey. The old man blocked in front of him and took the initiative to lower the price. One primeval stone is 10,000. Is that okay? Jiang Wang asked. Do you also have no fate with a physiognomist? You don't know. How do you know you have no fate? The old man begged. Maybe there is fate, but you don't know it. Jiang Wang looked at him. Your appearance reminds me of an acquaintance. The old man smiled. Everyone in the world is like me. Learn from me. At this moment, there was an air of disdain. Jiang Wang shook his head. I don't think that person will agree. If he hears this, he will directly scold you. The old man was still concerned about his business. 10 Dao primeval stones, no less. Jiang Wang shook his head. I'm not bargaining with you, old man. You see that there are so many people on this street. They might all be your business, but I definitely am not. Don't waste time on me. My fate is not decided by others. I don't need anyone to tell me what to do. The old man sighed. Young man, I was once like you. I was in my prime and believed that I could face everything. But now, I'm thin and wrinkled. Only then do I understand that fate is irreversible. Besides being childish, there's nothing special about being young. I was young, but were you old? Jiang Wang said, There's nothing special about being old. I will eventually be old, but you can't be young anymore. Don't take advantage of your seniority. Each generation has its own way of living. This is especially true for people like me. The old man opened his hand and stretched out his wrinkled hand in front of Jiang Wang. Then give me another coin. Jiang Wang decisively took out a coin and placed it in his hand. This time, the old man was a little surprised. He looked up at him. Aren't you unwilling to calculate? Jiang Wang smiled. If it's just a coin, then there's no harm in listening. Chapter 12:10. What do you mean by not needing to point fingers? What do you mean by not believing in fate? What nonsense! It's all because you think it's expensive. On the long street, the old man took a few steps back, as if he was getting to know this world-famous young man, Tianjiao, again. He said with emotion, You're quite capable to be able to cut me down to the price of a half immortal. Half immortal? Jiang Wang smiled, but did not say anything. This mysterious old man finally started to work. He looked at Jiang Wang from head to toe for a long time, then looked again and again. Please hurry up. I do have something to do, Jiang Wang reminded him. The old man did not take it to heart. He only said with emotion, Looking at your face, you're in the prime of your life now. Your identity is extraordinary. Jiang Wang said, You don't have to look at my face. Just look at my horse, and you'll know. The old man said again, I see that your treasure light is restrained, and you're born with divine splendor. If you can forge ahead, your future will be limitless. Jiang Wang said with a smile, You should have already known about me before you came. As long as you know my name, you won't have a bad future. But, you're like a dark cloud in the heavenly court. Your karma swims in your soul. Your treasure light is dim, and your divine splendor hides evil. The old man said in a low voice, I see that you lost your mother when you were young, and your father when you were young. Before you turned 20, almost all your friends and neighbors died. These were truly shocking words. Moreover, it was indeed what he had encountered before. If it were an ordinary person, they would have been convinced. Jiang Wang's expression did not change. Will there be a bloody disaster in the near future? The old man looked surprised. You can predict too? Then why did you save me? Jiang Wang asked. Do you want to buy something to ward off disaster? The old man said, of course I do. I have a protective talisman here. It's bathed in the essence of the sun and moon and woven from the spirit threads of the netherworld. I held it on me and recited all kinds of scriptures. I wrote the proverbs to ward off disaster. I burned incense and prayed every day for a total of 99 years and received countless merits. It can ward off disaster and protect you. Jiang Wang looked troubled. It's such a precious thing, but I only have 1,000 vitality stones on me. I don't know if it's enough. Enough, of course it's not enough. The old man sighed. But who asked this old man to be so soft-hearted and unable to bear to see the world suffer? Especially when you're so young and have a great life ahead of you. Fine. As long as you give me 1,000 primeval stones, I'll sell this talisman to you. As he spoke, he took out an amulet from his bosom and handed it to Jiang Wang. It looked no different from the amulets sold to ordinary people in Taoist temples. The price was about 2 to 3 coins. The stitches were especially unbearable and even came off the thread. When Jiang Wang was practicing martial arts in the outer sect of the Tao Academy, he had also sewed his own clothes. Although his craftsmanship was not as good as Ling He's, it was not an exaggeration to say that his craftsmanship was better than that of this amulet. No. Jiang Wang shook his head and said, I'm a man. How can I take advantage of you? It should be worth as much as it should be. Old man, wait a few years for me. When I have enough primeval stones, I'll come back and buy it from you. The old man sighed and said, I can wait, but you can't. There's a disaster recently. How can I not be worried? Let's not talk about it too much. If this old man suffers a little loss, then so be it. You can have this amulet for 1,000 primeval stones. As he sighed, he stood on tiptoe and stuffed the amulet into Jiang Wang's bosom. Jiang Wang stepped back and said, Old man, you can't do that. You've already worshipped it for 99 years. Why don't you take it back and worship it for another year to round it up and sell it for a higher price? The old man snorted and frowned unhappily. What do you mean by selling it for a higher price? Why would this old man care about that? This old man sees that we're fated, so I'm helping you. Do you think this old man is blinded by greed? Take it quickly and eliminate the disaster as soon as possible. Sigh. Jiang Wang also sighed. But I just remembered that I left in a hurry today and didn't bring that many primeval stones with me. The old man glared at him and said, Then how many did you bring? Jiang Wang raised a finger. 100? 100? Not one, right? You're going too far. I've worshipped it for 99 years and used the essence of the sun and the moon. He suddenly stopped. Sigh, forget it. I'll give you a discount. 1 primeval stone it is. He held the amulet in his right hand and handed it to Jiang Wang. He stretched out his left hand in front of Jiang Wang. Give me the money and I'll give you the goods. From 1,000 to 100, this discount was so fierce that it fully explained the value of this amulet. However, Jiang Wang just shook his head. Old man, you misunderstood. I only brought 1 Tao primeval stone with me. Tao primeval stone and primeval stone were only 1 word apart, but the difference in value was 10,000 times. The old man took back the amulet and looked up at Jiang Wang on horseback. As expected, you still think this old man is a swindler, don't you? Of course, the person in front of him was unfathomable, but no matter who he was, it was impossible for him to take 1,000 primeval stones from Jiang Wang with a broken amulet. Jiang Wang smiled, but didn't say anything. Although he didn't say anything, his meaning was clear. The old man snorted and suddenly turned around to face Jiang Wang. He grabbed Yin Zhao's reins. I'll call you ignorant brat. Look carefully. He led Yin Zhao and took a big step forward. Before Jiang Wang could react, he was already on horseback and moving forward. The entire street suddenly fell silent. The pedestrians on the street were all frozen in place. Everyone's expression was frozen at the previous moment. The old man casually pointed at a young man in front of him and said, "This person's life expectancy is no more than 37. This man looked strong, and his complexion was excellent. No matter how one looked at him, he didn't look like he had a short life." Jiang Wang was still in a state of shock and didn't say anything. "If you don't believe me, then come and see." As the old man spoke, he led Yin Zhao and took another step forward. However, he brought Yin Zhao and Jiang Wang and crashed into the young man together. The entire street was gone. In the flash of light and shadow, Jiang Wang rode a horse and appeared in a room. From the layout, it seemed to be a bedroom. A person was lying on the bed. A woman was sobbing beside the bed. A slightly younger child was giggling in the cradle. Sorrow and joy were in the same room, and life and death were in the same place. Jiang Wang looked forward. The sickly man lying on the bed was the young man he met on the streets of Linzi. He was slightly older than before, but there was no way that he was in his early 40s. The people in the room didn't notice the sudden appearance of the two people and the horse. The man on the bed pulled the woman's hand. "After I leave, don't stay here. If you find a suitable family, go and remarry. My parents are still alive and have some money. They can raise a child. You don't have to." His words were cut off at this point, and his soul had already left his body. The woman immediately cried. The old man led Yin Zhao and turned to the side. When he looked again, he was already on the streets of Linzi. Jiang Wang fell into a deep shock. Illusion? Really? If this was an illusion, why didn't he investigate it all? Why did what he saw and felt feel so real? If this was real, how powerful would it be to see the future of others? It was simply unimaginable. How is it? On the streets of Linzi, which had regained its hustle and bustle, the old man turned around and looked at Jiang Wang. "You should believe me now, right? I'm a half immortal in the human world. How can my reputation be undeserved?" After this incident, he was still the same person and old, but suddenly he was like a mountain, making people feel terrified. Jiang Wang said, "Elder strength is not something Jiang Wang can estimate. This kind of magical power is really... All right, it's boring to change from arrogance to deference. There's no need to flatter me." The old man raised his hand and interrupted him. He was very imposing. "Do you want to buy the amulet?" Jiang Wang looked at the old man seriously and said, "I'll pay a knife at most." Chapter 12:11. The old man who had just shown his skills was stunned for a long time. Then he said, "You really revolutionized my understanding of Tianjiao." Jiang Wang said, "There are no two people in this world who are exactly the same. Everyone you see is new." The old man clicked his tongue and said, "You have a way with words. You are very suitable to be a physiognomist." "So physiognomists rely on words?" Jiang Wang looked at him with a smile. "If a person with a way with words is suitable to be a physiognomist, I know two top talents. If you can give me 1,000 primeval stones, I will introduce them to you and let them be your successors. I guarantee that they will bring your school to a great height." "Forget it." The old man waved his hand in disgust and looked at Jiang Wang with a little curiosity. "Are you really not afraid of death?" Jiang Wang didn't answer directly, but asked back. The young man who just walked past died of illness before the age of 37, leaving behind an orphan and a widow. It is really pitiful. Since you can see the future, why don't you help him?" The old man sighed and said, "Birth, old age, illness, and death, suffering and adversity. Everything in the world is predestined. How can a person be saved?" Jiang Wang asked. "Then is it predestined that I will have a bloody disaster in the near future? Or is it predestined that you will help me eliminate the bloody disaster? If the former is predestined, then what is the use of your amulet? If the latter is predestined, then why should I spend money? In short, if everything is predestined, then what is the point of a physiognomous existence?" The old man didn't get angry after being beaten like this, nor did he argue with him. He just laughed and said, "You know me, but don't know me. Interesting, interesting." After laughing, he handed over the amulet again. "Young man, I will sell it to you for a knife's worth." Jiang Wang didn't refuse again. He took out a knife's worth of money and put it on the wrinkled, old bark-like hand. At the same time, he took the crudely made amulet. "I haven't asked, where did you come from?" The old man, who called himself Spirit Fading and Thin, only touched Yin Zhao's red mane and then retreated with a smile. "Between heaven and earth, there is a song. It's an extremely mediocre population. The rest are mediocre and unattainable. Looking to the north and looking to the south for 300 years, the stars move for a lifetime." He walked backwards into the crowd, but out of Jiang Wang's sight. This was a very strange feeling, as if something was happening on two different levels at the same time. However, Jiang Wang could only see the bustling crowd in front of him. There was no trace of the old man. Only the amulet in his hand reminded him of the authenticity of this experience. The modern world was so vast, and there were so many extraordinary people in the world. Jiang Wang looked at the amulet in his hand and put it away. He didn't say anything else. Gently rubbing Yin Zhao's neck, the scarlet horse moved forward on its own. In a noisy Linzi city, its hooves landed lightly as it trotted into the distance. His mane swayed in the wind like fire. When Jiang Wang arrived at the E-gate, Lin Yuxi had already been waiting for a while. "Lord Jiang, you're late." She looked at Jiang Wang and said. Both her tone and expression were very distant. He had agreed to meet with Lin Yuxi in an hour, so it didn't take much time to return home. The main reason was that he had been extorted for a long time on the road. Jiang Wang knew that he was in the wrong, so he took out a painting scroll from his storage box and went straight to the point. "Constable Lin, this is a painting of the scene after Huang Yixing's death. Why don't you take a look and see if you can find any clues?" "I've already seen it," Lin Yuxi said. Jiang Wang: "Good heavens, I'm really just a figurehead, right?" However, Lord Jiang had some experience now, so he smiled very naturally. "Then, I wonder if Constable Lin has any clues that you want to share with me?" He himself had studied this painting very seriously, and it just so happened that he had some gains. He wanted to kill the arrogance of this blue metal aristocratic family. Lin Yuxi was silent for a while, then said, "Did you know? The painter records the scene and shows the details. He can only show the details that he saw." "Of course I know." Jiang Wang frowned. "What's the problem with that? Unless I painted it myself, I can only confirm the clues after observing the scene with my own eyes. Any judgment before that can be influenced by others, and there will be a preconceived impression. An outstanding blue metal wouldn't make such a choice." She glanced at Jiang Wang. "That painting can only give people a general idea of the situation. I saw that the other person painted it very carefully, so it might not be inferior to yours. The eyes are also very vivid." Jiang Wang said silently in his heart. On the surface, he smiled. "Then let's go." With a light kick of his leg, Yin Zhao was like an arrow leaving the bow, galloping on the official road in an instant, like a flowing line of fire. Lin Yuxi hurriedly flew up and flew beside Yin Zhao. Yin Zhao was the best horse in the world, galloping on the endless official road. Although Lin Yuxi's flying speed wasn't slow, he still had to exert himself to keep up. The scenery on the side of the road flew past quickly. Soon, they had already galloped out of Linzi and entered Luan County. While Lin Yuxi was flying, he couldn't help but glance at Jiang Wang. It was common for blue metal constables to run around to solve cases, so she didn't find it hard at all. However, while he was flying with all his strength and expending his Tao energy, the other party was riding a tall horse, leisurely and leisurely. It looked like he was cultivating, like he was studying Tao techniques. It was truly infuriating. "Lord Jiang," Lin Yuxi spoke in a wind. Jiang Wang grunted without much sincerity, expressing his doubts. "You are the #1 inner mansion in the world, and I'm only an ant that has just entered the inner mansion realm. Whether it is Tao energy reserves or cultivation strength, I am far inferior to you." This was the truth, Jiang Wang thought, and then he asked, Lin Yuxi said, "All the great men in the world have great magnanimity." Jiang Wang also sighed with emotion. "It's not restricted to men and women. I was fortunate enough to meet Emperor Mu at the Riverview platform. His magnanimity was truly magnificent and magnificent." Lin Yuxi couldn't respond to this, so he changed the topic. "I heard that since ancient times, those who have great achievements are very compassionate towards their subordinates." Jiang Wang asked, "Why haven't I heard of this before?" Lin Yuxi was speechless. "Lord Jiang, you should read more books." These words were spoken with a hint of gnashing teeth. "Books, of course I read books. I have also read a few Tao scriptures." Jiang Wang sat steadily on the back of the galloping horse and said proudly, "A while ago, I even discussed studying with the 11th Prince. Even the 11th Prince discussed studying with me. How dare you, Lin Yuxi, say that the 11th Prince is not knowledgeable enough?" Lin Yuxi really didn't dare. "Then I have been presumptuous." Jiang Wang lectured without holding back. "Constable Lin, you should focus on the case. Don't think too much." The more he spoke, the angrier he felt. Lin Yuxi simply shut his mouth. However, although he didn't give in verbally, Jiang Wang really felt that he should take some time out to study. Now that he had a third-rank official position, he seemed to be in the upper echelons of qi. However, he knew that his vision was far from enough. He couldn't always rely on Cheng Geng Sheng to guide him. Cheng Geng Sheng couldn't always accompany him. Moreover, traveling thousands of miles and reading thousands of books was a way to understand the world. It was also a kind of cultivation. He had already traveled thousands of miles, and he would continue in the future. Reading thousands of books wasn't even the beginning. When he was in the Tao Academy, he didn't perfunctorily read Tao scriptures. Later, he left his hometown and focused on becoming stronger. He didn't really read the words of the sages. Of course, he wouldn't say these words to Lin Yuxi. They weren't on the same path, just temporarily. Chapter 12:12. On the streets of Linzi, the old man who read Jiang Wang's fortune retreated into the crowd and jumped out of sight. When he reappeared, he was in a mysterious space. Above it was a river of stars, and below it was a complicated star map. The surroundings were vast, and the night was boundless. The star map, formed by the starlight, was like a spider web in the air. Below the star map and above the river of stars was endless darkness. The old man squinted his eyes and looked at the young Taoist in front of him. His face was young, but his eyes seemed to have the river of stars flowing in them, vast and boundless. He wore a Taoist robe with a star map, and his Taoist bun was held up by a black jade hairpin. From his appearance to his aura, this old man couldn't compare. The old man curled his lips. "Wan Xiao, why are you blocking the way?" The owner of the tallest building in Linzi, the stargazing tower, Jian Zheng of the Imperial Astronomer. His name was Wan Xiao. This young-looking Taoist actually had such a background. "I should be the one asking you," Wan Xiao said calmly. "What are you doing in Linzi?" The old man in coarse hemp clothes looked shabby and dispirited compared to Wan Xiao. However, he spoke with confidence. "I haven't done anything wrong, and I haven't killed anyone. I don't need to report everything to you." Wan Xiao looked at him calmly, his gaze emotionless. All of a sudden, the star map under their feet lit up a little. "Fine, fine," the old man said angrily. "Since you don't welcome me, I'll leave." Wan Xiao said, "If I show up, you can still leave. If it were someone else, it wouldn't be like this." The old man suddenly laughed. "Look at you. You make Linzi sound like a tiger's den. Are the people here so fierce?" Without waiting for Wan Xiao to reply, he stretched his neck and looked behind Wan Xiao. "This is your daughter?" He smiled and praised. "She's really not bad." Behind Wan Xiao, starlight gathered and formed a young girl. She wore the same Taoist robe as Wan Xiao and had the same Taoist bun. Her face was somewhat similar, but she was born beautiful, with a jade-like nose and starlight shining in her eyes. She asked, "Father, who is this person?" Wan Xiao said, "Wrong path. Don't talk too much." Wan Xiao. The smile on the old man's face finally disappeared. He looked at Wan Xiao and said, "Going back 10,000 years, who was the heterodox. Yuan Xiu, however, didn't even raise his eyelids. He only said, "People always have to move forward and look further ahead. Going back to the original path is the wrong path." The old man flicked his sleeves and said, "Summer insects really can't talk about ice." He strode outside. Before he walked out of this space, he suddenly turned back. "Did you think that brat Xia was scolding me? It's not like I'm making a living in Lindsay." After saying that, he took a step and left. In the space where only the father and daughter were left, Ruanzhou wrinkled her pretty nose. "This person is really rude." Ruanzhou only said indifferently, "If you have resentment in your heart, you will naturally complain." His body disintegrated into starlight and fell into the star chart. Ruanzhou also disappeared. Yin Zhao had an extraordinary demonic beast bloodline, which was reflected in his speed. As soon as the sky turned dark, he stepped into the land of the sun. This was an official road of more than 2,000 miles. His running speed was faster than Lin Yuxi's flying speed, and needless to say, his endurance was even better. In fact, after traveling for less than half of the distance, Jiang Wang let go of the horse and hurried on with the instant clear sky immortal technique. He deliberately led Yin Zhao to take care of Lin Yuxi's speed. At first, he didn't let go of the horse because he saw Lin Yuxi's disdainful attitude, so he deliberately made trouble for him. The faster they reached Zhaoheng City, the closer they would be to the real clues. Jiang Wang understood this principle. He was also very clear that Lin Yuxi was the main force in the field of investigation. "Let's go to Qingyang Town first and rest the horse," Jiang Wang said in the air. His green robe fluttered in the wind. The immortal robe had been on him for a while and had absorbed enough energy. Although it was carried by the wind, it was actually spreading out with the wind. Jiang Wang had carefully studied this Rui immortal robe for a long time, but he couldn't find any clues about the immortal palace. Thinking about it, this immortal robe was bestowed by the emperor. It had been in the national treasury for a long time, and many people had studied it. If there was any inheritance of the immortal palace, it shouldn't have been kept until now. When the emperor bestowed this robe, he might have been bestowing it on Jiang Wang in the hope that this immortal robe could form a connection with the immortal palace inheritance on Jiang Wang, so that Jiang Wang could gain something. Many people would rather their treasures be covered in dust and left to accumulate dust in the warehouse than let others benefit from it. The emperor's spirit was naturally different. Unfortunately, there wasn't any connection. This was a reasonable thing. The 9 great immortal palaces weren't a single entity. In the era when they dominated the world, they might have been enemies. Jiang Wang's cloud-top immortal palace and the inheritance of the 10,000 immortal palace didn't have any conflict. But even without the origin, the Rui immortal robe was still a very precious robe. It was a generous reward. Not caring about Lin Yuxi's opinion, Yin Zhao took a step forward and ran behind Jiang Wang. Soon, they arrived outside Qingyang Town. Lin Yuxi dismounted and said, "Lord Jiang, please rest your horse. I will wait outside the town." Jiang Wang had been avoiding her like a tiger, deliberately keeping a distance from her. After borrowing the boat near the sea and promising to let go of the suspicions on Jiang Wang, she also kept a good distance. She didn't come into contact with Jiang Wang again. Although she was assisting in the case this time, her attitude was very distant. When Jiang Wang didn't let her horse go, she really gritted her teeth and chased him in the air for half a day. She chased him until her Daoyuan ran out, but she didn't say a word. It was Jiang Wang himself who was embarrassed, so he gave her the horse. Now, they were passing by Qingyang Town without entering. Jiang Wang couldn't ask for more. He replied straightforwardly, "I'll be right back." Without saying a word of courtesy, he held Yin Zhao's hand and walked inside. Although there was nothing shameful in Qingyang Town, Lin Yuxi's eyes were sharp. Jiang Wang didn't want his situation to be exposed too much to her. 2 town hall soldiers dutifully guarded the town gate. When they saw Jiang Wang, they couldn't help but cheer. Their lord was the head of the Yellow River. They were people from Qingyang Town. Wherever they went, they held their heads high. Jiang Wang greeted them with a smile and went to the town hall. The sky was already dark. Unlike Lindsay, There weren't many pedestrians on the streets at night. Jiang Wang's feet were very fast, so he didn't need someone to report. When he arrived at the town hall, De Xiao was practicing Taoist techniques in the backyard. When she saw Jiang Wang, the flame flower in her hand scattered. "Young master, why did you come back at this time?" She was pleasantly surprised. Last time, when Jiang Wang returned from the Riverview platform, she hurried to say a few words to him. At that time, Jiang Wang said he wouldn't be returning to Qingyang town for a while. Although she was disappointed, she also knew that a bustling place like Linzi was the stage her young master should be on. Although she was already transcendent, she felt that her talent for cultivation was mediocre. If she could help her young master manage his fief, she felt that she had contributed value. She could be considered a useful person to him. Of course, she hoped that she could be more useful and valuable. Therefore, not only was she diligent in town affairs, but she was also very diligent in cultivation. When practicing Taoist techniques, you must be focused and sincere. Even if Mount Tai collapses in front of you, you can't disperse your Taoist techniques. Jiang Wang gave Xiao Xiao a few pointers based on the problem he saw just now. This flame flower was also passed down to Xiao Xiao by him. When it came to understanding the flame flower in the whole world, it could be said that he didn't lose to anyone. Because time was tight, he only pointed out a few problems and let Xiao Xiao figure out herself. Then he asked, "Where's Fan Qingqing?" "Sister Fan is cultivating in the Zhengsheng Hall." Xiao Xiao said, "Should I call her back?" Jiang Wang remembered that he had promised Fan Qingqing that he would give her pointers after he learned that he had mastered the immortal canon. He had never had the time, so he should remember this in the future. "No need," Jiang Wang said. "I came to the Yang lands on imperial orders. I will leave immediately." He thought for a moment and asked, "Do you know about the death of Hingyang County's Provost Huang Yixing?" "I haven't." Xiao Xiao shook her head, the shock in her eyes difficult to hide. "How'd he die?" After all, he was an important person on the same level as Tianantai. He died just like that. One had to know that above Qingyang town was Jia City, and above Jia City was the county government. Huang Yixing's position couldn't be considered low. Jiang Wang said, "That's what I want to investigate." It seemed that the local blue metal had sealed the news very tightly. "Is there anything I can do?" Xiao Xiao asked. "My horse is outside. Remember to have someone take care of it." Jiang Wang looked around. Everything was the same as before. He ordered, "I'll put something in my room. Don't let anyone go in during this time." Xiao Xiao nodded and said, "I know." Jiang Wang left the town hall and went to his residence in Qingyang town. He put the talisman that the physiognomist had given him under his pillow. Without hesitation, he turned and left, flying into the night. Chapter 12:13. Jiang Wang did not plan to carry the so-called protective talisman of unknown origin with him. That mysterious physiognomist was an existence that he could not see through or understand. He did not know if that person had good intentions or bad intentions. He also did not have the confidence to play against such an unknown expert. All in all, it was better to be safe than sorry. If he could not offend him, he could always hide. He met up with Lin Yuxi outside the town gates and flew towards Zhaoheng City. Since Huang Yixing had died, the person in charge of Hingyang Prefecture was the Red-Tail Prefecture Governor Gao Shaoling. In the Hingyang Prefecture manner, many of the officials were promoted by Huang Yixing himself. A large portion of them were old young officials. Qi Ting did not interfere in this, giving him the power that a governor should have. From this, one could see that Qi Ting had enough confidence in the situation of the Yangland. The previous Prime Minister Yan Ping's plan was destroyed in a peaceful manner, and the murderous Chong Xian and Chu Liang broke it in one battle. The Yangland was indeed in the bag. Ever since it became part of the territory, it had not caused any trouble. Only this time, Qi Ting did not let the officials of Hingyang Prefecture take over the position of governor. Instead, he moved the Red-Tail Prefecture Governor Gao Shaoling to take over. The meaning behind this was worth thinking about. The reason why he chose Gao Shaoling and not Tianantai was because Marquis Gao Chong was tortured in front of the Imperial Ancestral Temple. The matters of the world were interconnected. When a stone falls into the water, it causes thousands of ripples. This was the first time Jiang Wang saw Gao Shaoling. He was wearing a full set of official robes. His hair was hidden in his official hat. Even his belt was stuck in the right position. His entire aura was very serious. It was completely different from the aura of the Gao family's young master. Frankly speaking, Gao's personality was a little frivolous. Of course, this kind of frivolity paled in comparison to his brother, who lost his right to inherit. At this moment, in the governor manor of Zhaoheng City, Gao Shaoling was sitting in the main seat. He looked very serious. The general situation is like this. I have already ordered that if the two constables have any requests, the entire Hingyang prefecture will cooperate. Although Jiang Wang and Lin Yuxi were here on the orders of the emperor to investigate the case, they still had to pay a visit to the county manor. Investigating a case in Hingyang County required the cooperation of the county government in many areas. Moreover, Gao Shaoling was temporarily in charge of this county. There was no conflict with them. On the contrary, they had common interests. If things were handled properly, Hingyang County was the capital of the Old Sun Kingdom. The Hingyang County governor was much more important than the Red Tail County governor. This trip was led by Jiang Wang. So it was Jiang Wang who came forward to communicate. We'll go to the scene first. If there's anything we need, we'll disturb the commandery manor. Sure. Gao Shaoling only smiled when it was time to send the guest off. You and Gaozha are friends. Please don't treat me like an outsider. Jiang Wang exchanged some more pleasantries before leaving with Lin Yuxi. He and Gaozha had indeed been friends for a while, but their personalities were not particularly compatible, so their relationship had faded long ago. Of course, they had never been on bad terms. If one had to describe it, they could be considered as fair-weather friends. Speaking of which, it was a pity. The governor's mansion in Zhaoheng City was originally the mansion of the Yang country's general, which was the former mansion of the Ji clan. Although it had been changed to the governor's mansion, the murderous aura could still be felt. As for the former Yang King Palace, it was preserved in its original state as the Son of Heaven's Palace. After a huge battle, plundering was a common occurrence. After a life and death battle, the soldiers needed to vent their emotions. Such a chaotic situation was not something that could be controlled by humans. After a country-breaking war, the Yang King Palace was still perfectly fine. Xiong Tu's ability to lead an army was evident from this. You haven't been in Linzi for long, but you're close to Yin Fu and Li Longchuan. However, your relationship with Gao doesn't seem to be that deep. Why? After walking out of the governor's mansion, Lin Yuxi suddenly asked, although the Gao family isn't as powerful as the Yin family and the Li family, since he is the young master, the resources he can use might not be weaker than those two. Jiang Wang frowned. Why are you asking this? Before Gao became the young master of the Gao family, he couldn't deal with jealousy. After becoming the young master of the Gao family, he couldn't suppress his arrogance. He wasn't a good friend. This was Jiang Wang's judgment of Gao, but he didn't want to say it behind his back. Confirm your real relationship with the Gao family. Then we can decide how much town supervisor Gao should be involved in the following process of the case, Lin Yuxi said casually. Jiang Wang said seriously, we're doing our case. It has nothing to do with town supervisor Gao, and we don't need him to be involved. Okay, Lin Yuxi said indifferently. You're in charge of the case. I'll listen to you. Of course, I'm in charge of the general direction. Jiang Wang nodded his head in a dignified manner, then asked naturally, where should we start investigating? Lin Yuxi was speechless. Let's do the autopsy first, she said finally. It was still late at night. In the autopsy room located in the north of the city, it was still cold and gloomy even though there were candles burning. Jiang Wang released a huge flame flower to reduce the temperature and hung it on the dome. Only then did the room become brighter. There was only one mortuary table in the large room, and there was only Huang Yixing lying straight on the table. Lin Yuxi was wearing a pair of translucent gloves made of an unknown material. He was carefully examining the body. Jiang Wang was at the door, asking the local constables and coroner in a low voice. He couldn't get anything out of the local coroner. The patrol office in the capital had already ordered that no one in Hingyang County was allowed to examine the body. All information was to be sealed until the people from Lindsay came. The local coroner had only made a rough observation and confirmed that Huang Yixing was really dead. For the local constables, the case was already solved, and they had nothing to investigate. They only did some preliminary work, such as recording testimonies and drawing a portrait of Huang Yixing's death. Jiang Wang asked them specifically because he wanted to know the attitude of the local people. Because his mission wasn't to find out the truth. By the way, Jiang Wang asked, who was the artist who drew Huang Yixing's portrait? The constable said, our head constable drew it himself. Oh, where is he? Jiang Wang asked. He's resting at home. The constable asked, should I call him? Not for now. Jiang Wang thought and asked, have you been very busy recently? The constable said bitterly, after such a thing happened, the people in the city are in a panic. There are always some people who want to fish in troubled waters. The higher-ups don't have the heart to care. He stopped here. Jiang Wang naturally understood what he meant. The people were in a panic because of the murder case. Qi Ting directly asked Gao Shaoling from the neighboring county to take care of it. The officials in Zhaoheng City were also in a panic. Since the city was in a mess, it was naturally hard for the people in charge of maintaining order. The coroner's eyes were drifting, and he looked at the mortuary table from time to time. He looked very uncomfortable. To be able to make a coroner who was used to seeing corpses uncomfortable, one could imagine Lin Yuxi's ability. The fourth-ranked blue metal constable, Lord Jiang, didn't look back and ask like a senior, you haven't been a coroner for long, right? Yes. The coroner came back to his senses and answered in a panic. It's okay. Lord Jiang smiled considerately. Let's go, let's talk outside. The coroner and the constable immediately turned around and ran out. Jiang Wang also followed without a change in his expression. Lord Jiang, Lin Yuxi's voice sounded behind them. Help me. Chapter 12:14. Sir Jiang took a deep breath and smiled. All right, we're almost done chatting. You can leave first. I'll call you if there's anything else. The coroner and constables of Zhaoheng City hurriedly agreed. They didn't care about Sir Jiang's mood. They left in a hurry. The scene in the morgue was really unbearable. Even nightmares were not enough. Sir Jiang calmed down and turned around calmly. He walked to the morgue. What do you need help with? He asked with a smile. Take this large intestine. Lin Yuxi busied himself without raising his head. Of course, Sir Jiang was fearless. Along the way, he had killed decisively. The souls of the dead were hard to count. He had also killed countless beasts and sea clans. He had seen a lot of broken limbs and wreckage. It was just a corpse, just a piece of it. He looked at it calmly. That, Sir Jiang finally asked, do you still have gloves? He could wrap his palm with Tao energy, but it felt strange. After all, Tao energy usually lived in Tongtian Palace. Oh, yes. Lin Yuxi casually took out a pair of gloves and handed them over. His other hand was still in Huang Yixing's abdomen. He tilted his head and frowned as he looked inside, carefully. Jiang Wang took the pair of translucent gloves and quickly put them on. They were slightly cold to the touch. They were a little closed and suffocating, but they were very light and didn't affect the movements of his fingers at all. He reached out. He held the large intestine. His movements were so gentle that it was as if he was holding a rare treasure. Raise it a little higher, Lin Yuxi commanded. Jiang Wang silently raised it. Look at this lung. Lin Yuxi held something in his hand and handed it to Jiang Wang. The senior blue metal, Sir Jiang's expression didn't change. What's wrong with this lung? Look at the bright spots at the edge of the lung. Jiang Wang calmed down and looked. Gold ingots? Lin Yuxi said, lungs are gold. The remaining gold ingots in Huang Yixing's lungs are so sharp and fierce. He's definitely not a coward who's afraid of death like the rumors say. Of course he's not a coward. He dared to take a risk in front of Xiongtu and earn the position of town protector. How could he be a coward? Jiang Wang had some vague ideas, but he couldn't immediately grasp them. He only said to Huang Yixing, but for him, bowing his head in front of power is a matter of course. It's not a disgrace. Lin Yuxi looked at him in surprise. He didn't expect him to know Huang Yixing so well. Jiang Wang calmly said, "After the Battle of Chiang, I was interested in competing for the position of Jinju, so I have studied them." Lin Yuxi nodded nonchalantly. He placed the lung back in its original position and fiddled with it for a while. "Brace your chest." Lord Zhang's face was expressionless as he did as he was told. At Lin Yuxi's fingertip, there was a thin ray of light. She quickly ran her fingers over Huang Yixing's left forearm and right thigh. Then she put her fingers into the wound, as if she was feeling something in the texture of the muscles. After a while, he pulled his finger out. "Help me tidy it up," she said. Jiang Wang looked at the various organs mixed together. He couldn't help but ask, "How do I tidy it up? Put them back in the right place." Lin Yuxi said casually. Then she took out a small wooden box, placed it next to Huang Yixing's body, and opened it. There were all kinds of small tools inside. Knives, awls, scissors, hooks, everything. He didn't know what they were used for. Jiang Wang didn't really want to know. He wore translucent gloves and arranged the organs in front of him with an expressionless face. Heart, liver, spleen, lungs, stomach, the corners of his eyes twitched unconsciously. Although he never showed mercy to his enemies, he definitely didn't have the hobby of studying other people's corpses. This was the first time, but as a fourth-rank blue medal holder, he couldn't show his cowardice at this time, especially in front of a woman like Lin Yuxi. Therefore, he still completed his task very well. Lin Yuxi methodically did her own thing. Her expression was calm, and her eyes were indifferent. She looked like a chef cooking. It was something that was repeated every day, something that couldn't be more normal. Jiang Wang watched her use small tools to study Huang Yixing's body with great concentration. He couldn't help but say, "Your gloves are pretty good. Can you get them in the patrol office?" "Oh, gloves. I made them myself," Lin Yuxi said casually. "These are corpse membrane gloves." Jiang Wang suddenly had a bad feeling. Lin Yuxi continued, "A corpse is made up of countless clues. There is a wonderful tacit understanding between them, which can often lead to the answer to a question. But any external thing can affect this tacit understanding or even break it. The corpse membrane gloves can isolate this kind of influence." She paused and said, "These gloves are made with rotten flesh as the roots, dead air as the branches, refined with corpse oil, and sacrificed with a secret technique. It is naturally compatible with the corpse and can be mixed in without affecting the corpse itself." Jiang Wang didn't want to talk anymore. He only felt that the touch from his 10 fingers was so slippery and disgusting. But he couldn't take off the gloves immediately. Otherwise, how could he have the face to hold his head high in front of Lin Yuxi? One word, endure. He began to recite the truth of flame flower burning city in his heart. Time was really long. After another half an hour, Lin Yuxi began to pack up the tools. "Next, we will go to the place where he fell," she said casually. "Okay." Jiang Wang's voice was calm. He slowly took off the gloves and put them on the table. "I'll return your gloves to you." "Thank you," he said politely. "You're welcome." Lin Yuxi put away the small wooden box and began to decorate Huang Yixing's remains. She also had a full set of tools to decorate the remains. It was a small cloth bag. When she opened it, there were all kinds of tools. There were silver threads, fine brushes, oxhair needles. She was very serious about decorating, as if she was decorating her own face. She seemed to have noticed Jiang Wang's doubts. She explained casually, "Because I messed up the clues, I should restore them. This way, if I can't find anything in the end, maybe I'm limited by my ability, or maybe I suddenly die. Then, the next constable who takes over the case can continue to investigate." These words were said very calmly. It was also very natural. It was as if she was born to investigate cases. She was also a part of the case. Just like the tools she carried with her, she had a fixed role and could be replaced at any time. "Do you need my help?" Jiang Wang asked with great awareness. "No need. This is a delicate job," Lin Yuxi said. Being looked down upon, Jiang Wang wasn't angry. Instead, he felt relieved. "Okay," Jiang Wang said. "I'll go outside and take a look first." Lin Yuxi didn't look up. "Go ahead." Jiang Wang walked out of the morgue with a calm face. Outside was the street that was submerged in the night. Tonight, Zhaoheng's city was silent, although Lord Jiang really wanted to shout a few times. The water quickly surged between his fingers, washing his hands inside and out several times. He dispersed the water condensed by his Tao essence far away, and a few wisps of wind blew his hands back and forth. Only then did he dispel the discomfort of the words that Lin Yuxi said just now. The sentence that left the deepest impression on him was, "A corpse is made up of clues." This was an unusually cold statement. Jiang Wang couldn't help but think, in this woman's eyes, was there really no flesh and blood? What kind of person was Constable Lin Quan? How could he let his daughter establish such a perception of the world? Chapter 12:15. The place where Huang Yixing fell to his death was at the east gate, which faced Linzi. Jiang Wang and Lin Yuxi arrived at the city gate. Under the night sky, Zhaoheng City was like a giant beast lurking in the shadows. The city walls were very tall. After all, it used to be called Tianxiong. The name showed its ambition and ambition. The Yang Kingdom, represented by Tianxiong City, was once the most powerful of the 9 sunrise kingdoms that were born from the remains of the Yang Kingdom. Everything was gone. Now, the ancestral temple of the Yang Kingdom was completely demolished. The last king died in the hands of thousands of soldiers. The bloodline of the Yang Kingdom was also refined by Yang Jinda. The country was gone. There was no mention of the old Yang court, nor were there any people who cared about the old Yang. There were many people like Huang Yixing, who were like fish in water among the people of Qi, people of the Yang land. The moon hung alone in the sky. Lin Yuxi stood facing the city gate, as if he was imagining the scene. How Huang Yixing walked up the gate tower, and how he fell. "Did you see anything from the body?" Jiang Wang finally found a chance to ask. The details of Huang Yixing's muscles told me that he was very scared before he died, Lin Yuxi said. But I saw his expression, and that picture. Jiang Wang paused. "Is there something wrong with the chief of detectives?" "Not necessarily." Lin Yuxi shook his head. "There are 3 levels of disguise: expression, mood, and inner feelings. Inner feelings are the instinctive reactions of the body. His expression and mood were very well made, so it's normal that they weren't discovered." Made? Jiang Wang caught this word. The expression, mood, and inner feelings were also new to him. Lin Yuxi continued. Huang Yixing was fighting against something before he died, but there was no second force in his body. The only thing I can confirm is that he didn't commit suicide. Also, it's easy to see that his organs were very intact before he fell from a high place. In other words, his resistance wasn't intense. The person who made him like this is either terrifyingly strong or has some special methods. Jiang Wang couldn't understand how it's easy to see was easy, but it didn't stop him from participating in the discussion. Could it be some kind of flesh puppet technique? I can't say for sure. I haven't found the thread of control, and those special methods aren't limited to puppets. There are many possibilities. As Lin Yuxi spoke, he leaped up and said, "I will go to the city gate tower to take a look." Dressed in a neutral outfit, she flew to the top of the city gate tower, her sleeves fluttering in the wind. Only then did Jiang Wang realize that this person was too skinny. At this moment, it was flying in the night sky like a thin kite, and the string that was holding her was hidden in the night sky of Qi. She might have some weak parts, but they were well covered up by her usual style and behavior. She was almost indifferent, both to herself and to others. "How is it?" Jiang Wang stood below and asked. "No matter what happens later, don't worry about me," Lin Yuxi said calmly. Before Jiang Wang could figure out the meaning of this sentence, he saw Lin Yuxi suddenly turn around and fall with his back facing him. Even the Tao energy around her had dissipated. Jiang Wang subconsciously reached out to catch it, but thinking of Lin Yuxi's request just now, he stopped halfway. He only released some wind essence and spun it close to the ground, so that he could react at any time. Lin Yuxi fell until he was only 2 inches from the ground before he suddenly stopped. From extreme movement to extreme stillness, he flipped over and stood up. Of course, she felt the wind essence close to the ground, but she didn't say anything. She just flew up again and flew to the top of the city gate tower, took off a black tile, and floated down. When I fell just now, I saw this, Lin Yuxi said. Jiang Wang took the black tile and saw a line of words at the bottom. Feng Liao Town. After that, it was empty for a while, and there were 2 boys attached. It was imperial made. When one, Jiang Wang said. Which Yang? Lin Yuxi asked. Jiang Wang finally reacted. He had already practiced the Eye of Qian Yang, which was secretly passed down from the Yang imperial family. Later, he obtained the supreme Dao technique, Dragon Tiger, and had some understanding of the Yang imperial family's language. The words on the black tile were very similar to the Yang imperial family's language, but there were slight changes. It should be the Yang imperial family's language. Therefore, he said, Yang as in Yang Jinda. You know the Yang imperial family's language? Lin Yuxi was surprised. Jiang Wang said honestly, I know the language of the great Yang Empire that unified the eastern region. This word is very similar to it, but there are slight changes. It's not difficult to understand. What does it say? Lin Yuxi asked. Jiang Wang read out loud. Lin Yuxi looked at him, her eyes clearly saying, I didn't expect you to be so knowledgeable. What's wrong with that? Jiang Wang asked. Of course, he was asking about the case. Huang Yixing's eyes are well preserved. From the details of his eyeballs, before he completely lost consciousness, the arc of his vision was very clear. Lin Yuxi said, Just now I was standing at the place where Huang Yixing fell, replicating his trajectory and state. Then I saw this. She emphasized with certainty, Huang Yixing must have seen this before he died. Jiang Wang still didn't know how she was so sure. He didn't know how she could see the arc of the vision from the dead's eyeballs and accurately match it to the scene of the death. The blue metal aristocratic family had its own secrets. But for this piece of black tile, the Yang imperial family's language and calendar had long been extinct. They had always been using the Qi imperial family's language and calendar. This piece of old tile was probably one of the few remaining traces of the Yang imperial family's language in this world. Although the Qi imperial family's language was mixed with some of the Yang imperial family's language, it was fundamentally different. It had the Qi imperial family's personality and characteristics. Huang Yixing stepped on the reputation of the Yang imperial family's officials and won the position of Zhaoheng County's governor. However, in reality, he was not respected by the real Qi imperial family's officials. How did he feel when he saw the Yang imperial family's language when he was about to die? Jiang Wang opened the scroll again and looked at Huang Yixing's eyes, which looked like they were about to burst out of the paper when he died. The person who killed Huang Yixing was a Yang person. There was an indescribable emotion in his tone. The reason why he was so emotional was not because he found out the truth, but because the truth did not seem to contradict the orders he received. Compared to him, Lin Yuxi was much calmer. This case may be related to Zhao Xian's death. She looked at Jiang Wang and said, Zhao Xian from the Ministry of Rites was a Yang person who transferred to the Qi imperial family before the Yang imperial family was destroyed. He was stabbed to death on the Linzi Bridge. Ah, is that so? Jiang Wang regained his composure. Lin Yuxi might be implying that there was no door to hell. But Jiang Wang didn't think so. He would suddenly think of something. First, he went overseas to capture the traitor of the Golden Needle clan, Wu Yu. He used the power of the Four Seas Business Alliance to organize a singing event on Haimen Island. At that singing event, other than the green jade vine that Lin Yuxi got, there was another auction item that left a deep impression on him. It was the legendary fragment that fell from the sun, the dazzling stone. When he dissected Huang Yixing's body, Lin Yuxi used 2 words to describe the metal in his lungs, sharp and fierce. Although Huang Yixing had the courage to risk his life for riches and honor, no matter what, he was not sharp and fierce. According to the information, the cultivation method that he cultivated was gentle in nature. At that time, he vaguely felt that something was wrong, but he missed the inspiration. At this moment, he suddenly remembered that sharp and fierce were the feelings that the dazzling stone gave him back then. Thus, he logically thought of Asu, That World Towers, also, the lousy leader of the assassin organization who promised to deliver his letter to the Yang Imperial Palace. On the day of the Battle of Chiang, he met Also. On Haimen Island, at the singing event, he also met Also. Chapter 12:16. Who was Also? First of all, he was undoubtedly from the Yang Kingdom. To open such an ostentatious and weak assassin organization in Songfeng City, he must have some background in the Yang Kingdom. The Yang Kingdom had been destroyed. So far, other than the assassination at Shaolin Bridge, the entire Yang Kingdom did not seem to be in turmoil. Although the Yang Kingdom was peaceful and the Yang people lived better than before. But would all the Yang people be satisfied with their status as Qi people? Probably not. Jiang Wang did not know much about Asu's strength. He had only seen Asu a few times. But from the exaggeration in Songfeng City, the indifference in the Red Tail battlefield, and the brief glimpse at Haimen Island, this person's experience seemed to be pieced together. There is another possibility why Huang Yixing's resistance was not fierce enough. Jiang Wang said, could it be that he did not have much will to resist in the first place? Or the force he was resisting was of the same origin as him, so it was difficult for outsiders to detect. The metal yuan in Huang Yixing's lungs was so sharp. Could it be that it was contaminated by an external force? That could also explain. Lin Yuxi looked at him. Did you think of something? It's just a very sudden association. Jiang Wang thought for a moment and told Lin Yuxi about Su from World Tower. Lin Yuxi obviously did not expect that there would be such an episode when he was trapping Wu Yu on Haimen Island. After the Yang Kingdom was destroyed, he chose to leave his hometown and did not submit to the Qi Kingdom. Lin Yuxi said, this is indeed an important clue. The dazzling stone. She seemed to have thought of something. I will contact the patrol office now and investigate this also. Go to the Zhaoheng City Chief Constable's house and see if there are any other clues. Didn't you say that the Chief Constable of Zhaoheng City might not be a problem? The perspective in the painting is wrong. Lin Yuxi explained, but it could also be that his observation was not sharp enough. After all, it was painted by Huang Yixing, so it was inevitable that it would be wrong. Anyway, go and confirm it. Jiang Wang did not care about the relationship between superior and subordinate. He only said, okay. The two of them separated in front of the city gate and flew away separately. There was a blue metal secret contact point in Hengyang County. There was a spell formation that could be used to contact Linzi at any time and pass on information. However, it was not in Zhaoheng City. That was why they split up to save time. Jiang Wang had already found out the residence of the chief of detectives who personally described Huang Yi's death and recorded the information at that time. He entered Zhaoheng City alone and put on the stealth cloak. He quietly snuck into his target's residence. This was a big mansion in the North City. Judging from the layout of the courtyard, the head constable of Zhaoheng City was living a good life. After the Qi army took over Zhaoheng City, for the sake of stability, many positions were still used by the old Yang officials. This chief of detectives was one of them. After Huang Yixing became the governor of Hengyang Town, this person also won Huang Yixing's trust. It should be said that he was the local tyrant of Zhaoheng City. Jiang Wang decided to investigate in secret first, and then pay an open visit to verify the authenticity of the two. But before he could investigate in secret, he had already died. There was no sign of the chief of detectives in this mansion. His wife, children, and servants were all in the mansion, sleeping soundly. Only the chief of detectives himself had disappeared. Jiang Wang walked silently in the mansion. Everything he saw was normal. An ordinary rich family was quietly exposed in front of him. Only the master of the mansion had disappeared. No one in the mansion seemed to have noticed. This made him feel indescribably uneasy. As the chief of detectives in Zhaoheng City, where did he go so late at night? In the end, Jiang Wang did not do anything. He turned around and left to meet up with Lin Yuxi. The meeting place was in Lu City. This city was named after the large number of deer living in the suburbs. The blue metal secret contact point in Hengyang County was hidden in this city. You're saying that the chief of detectives in Zhaoheng City is missing. When Lin Yuxi asked this, he was fiddling with some medicine on a square table with a pot of medicine in one hand and a wooden pestle in the other. Could it be that he went out at night for something? That's hard to say, Jiang Wang said. But according to my observation, this should not be the first time he disappeared in the mansion in the middle of the night. Lin Yuxi did not ask how he observed. Jiang Wang would not be wrong about this. He only nodded and said, "Don't worry about it. As long as there's a problem, you won't be able to escape." "What about you? Did you find anything?" Jiang Wang asked. Lin Yuxi did not hide anything. "I asked someone to look through the information in the secret mansion. First, I connected the blazing stone with the Yang Kingdom. The result was that the blazing stone was one of the most important supplementary materials for cultivating the sun golden flame technique. Then I checked on Aso. I found that among Yang Jinda's children, the least favored one disappeared after the war. His name was Yang Xuanza. The secret mansion was the Blue Metal's secret information center. It basically contained all the important information that the Blue Metal had. With Jiang Wang's current authority, he could access most of the information in the secret mansion. Jiang Wang already had a hunch, so he was not surprised. He just sighed and said, "I didn't expect that a random place I went to and a random person I met would turn out to be a prince of the Yang Kingdom. I also didn't expect to meet him again under such circumstances and in such a way." If that was the case, then everything made sense. Why was Asu so confident that he could deliver the letter to the Yang Palace? Why did he meet him at the singing event? At that time, what was he waiting for on that cliff? Jiang Wang could not help but wonder how the last remaining prince of the Yang Kingdom felt when he flew over there and told him that the Yang army had been defeated. Standing alone on a high cliff, quietly waiting for news from the battlefield, waiting for the inevitable end of the country. What was that person thinking at that time? Jiang Wang still remembered Yang Xuanza's answer at that time. He said, "Got it. Thank you." Yang Xuanza had a reason to kill, and he also had the ability to do so. The person who gave the Hell Sect the mission to kill Zhao Xian might also be him. Lin Yuxi pounded the herbs with a steady motion and felt a sense of relief. The two cases can probably be combined into one. Jiang Wang said, "The rumors on the street said that General Chao wanted to interfere with the position of Hingyang County Governor and forced Huang Yixing to die. Now it seems that it's ridiculous." Lin Yuxi looked at him indifferently. "If Lord Jiang only wants to prove this, then you can already do it. You just need to announce Yang Xuanza's identity and provide some existing clues. Everyone will believe that Huang Yixing's death was revenge from the royal bloodline of the Yang Kingdom." Jiang Wang did not speak for a while. Lin Yuxi continued, "But if you want to confirm the truth of the matter, you must catch Yang Xuanza first. Before that, our so-called conclusion can only be regarded as inference. At present, Yang Xuanza is only the biggest suspect." Jiang Wang was silent for a while, and finally said, "You're right. How can it be so simple?" At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded behind Lin Yuxi. A man with extremely bright eyes and high cheekbones walked out from the shadows. Third-rank Blue Metal Constable Li Yuxi. He looked at Lin Yuxi somewhat sternly. "Do you know that General Chao has been grounded in his residence due to the pressure of public opinion? Do you know that with General Chao's identity, ability, and status, every day he spends in his residence is a great harm to the country? Lin Yuxi, do you think Yang Xuanza will wait for you to catch him? How long will it take for you to catch him? Does Lord Chao also have to wait in his residence until you catch the murderer?" Chapter 12:17. Sir Li. Jiang Wang was surprised. "Why are you here?" He was the leader of this case, so a green card like Li Yugue shouldn't have interfered with it, because it would reduce Jiang Wang's ability to investigate this case fairly as a Xinshi person. This was also the reason why he couldn't get on Yulong's good side this time. "I rushed over as soon as I received the news about the remnants of the Yang family," Li Yugue explained. "Since the real culprit has been found, the case led by you has the truth. You can report it to the patrol office first. The next thing is to arrest the real culprit." In terms of official position, Jiang Wang was the same as him. Plus, they had met before, so his attitude was very equal. Unlike Lin Yuxi, who was almost reprimanding him. Lin Yuxi held a small wooden pestle and gently fiddled with the medicine in the medicine jar without saying a word. This surprised Jiang Wang. In his opinion, it should be hard for people like Lin Yuxi to back down when they had something to insist on. Unless the relationship between Liu Guwei and her was not as simple as official position. Jiang Wang thought for a while and said, "Shouldn't we find a way to arrest the culprit first?" Liu Guwei said slowly, "Announce the truth through the patrol office first and let General Chao get rid of the gossip. This is the most important thing. Sir Jiang, His Majesty favors you. You should share His Majesty's burden." Cheng Gongsheng had said the same thing before. Jiang Wang was already mentally prepared. He glanced at Lin Yuxi. Lin Yuxi had no reaction. It was as if the medicine jar in front of her was her new case, her new clue. "You're making this medicine again?" Liu Guwei sniffed lightly and frowned in disgust. "What's the point of using this to stay awake?" Lin Yuxi finally spoke. She said, "Being awake has its own meaning." Liu Guwei looked at her and suddenly sighed. "I already have a clue about the remnants of the Yang family. You record the case and report it to Lindsay. Sir Jiang and I will go after them. We must put an end to this matter." Then, without waiting for Lin Yuxi's reaction, he turned to Jiang Wang and said, "Time is of the essence. Lord Jiang, let's talk as we walk." Liu Guwei was a third-rank blue medal holder. His rank and cultivation were even higher than that of the patrol commandant. His position within the patrol manor was very high. Of course, this was decided by the special mechanism of the city's patrol office. In terms of power, he was far from being able to compare with Zheng Shi. Jiang Wang had nothing to say. He was a senior with a blue medal, and they had been friends for a long time. He just followed them out. The sound of Lin Yuxi pounding the herbs slowly faded away. After leaving the secret contact point and leaving Lu City, Liu Guwei soared into the sky and flew towards the west. Jiang Wang followed closely behind. "Do you think that I was too strict with Constable Lin?" Liu Guwei suddenly asked in the face of the night wind. It was inappropriate for Jiang Wang to criticize his senior, so he said slowly, "I just think that Arrestor Lin is a truly loyal and courageous arrestor. I don't know if some of her choices are right or wrong, so I don't dare comment. But at least she is worthy of the blue medal on her waist." Liu Guwei said, "I heard that the two of you had some conflicts and were very distant. I didn't expect you to have such a high opinion of her. Qin Yangzi is really a sincere gentleman. It's not a conflict, just some misunderstandings." Jiang Wang didn't expect his relationship with Lin Yuxi to be discussed. He immediately explained, "Arrestor Lin only has eyes for the case. How would she have time to care about other people's feelings?" "You're right." Liu Guwei sighed. "I'm sad for her misfortune and angry for her incompetence." Jiang Wang's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" Liu Guwei didn't answer immediately. Instead, he asked, "Do you know about the 4 blue medal aristocratic families?" Jiang Wang said, "I really don't know about this." "It's reasonable that you don't know, because they only exist in name." Liu Guwei sighed. After Emperor Wu restored the country, he established the blue medal system. Good and evil were divided into yin and yang. Qi's blue medal was famous everywhere, and many evil people trembled in fear at the mention of it. The blue medal was spread all over the eastern region. Wherever it went, evil people would retreat. Among them, there were the 4 super arresters, Lin Li and Wu Cheng. They were famous for arresting criminals and killing countless lawbreakers. The so-called 4 blue medal aristocratic families started with them. At this point, his emotions suddenly became agitated. When the 4 blue medal aristocratic families were at their peak, there was no such thing as the no door to hell who dared to kill people in Linzi. How could they escape? Jiang Wang didn't answer. He didn't know about the glory of the 4 blue medal aristocratic families, but the Qi of Emperor Wu was not as powerful as the Qi of today. The 7 kings of hell entered Linzi and killed people in a few breaths. They escaped immediately. Their intelligence, timing, and actions were all top-notch. Before this, there hadn't been such a big case in Linzi for many years. The Overlord country had been peaceful for a long time. It could be said that it was an instinctive reaction under stress, but it still left 5 of the 7 kings of Hell alive. Jiang Wang saw with his own eyes how Yingguan escaped. He was really walking on the edge of a cliff and narrowly escaped death. If it happened again, he might not be able to survive. When the 4 blue metal aristocratic families were at their peak, they might not be able to do so. Moreover, Li Yogui's words, "Where was Yulong and the Night Watchman?" Of course, Jiang Wang wouldn't get involved in those discussions. He only said, "I think Arrestor Lin is from the Lin family, and you are from the Li family. Uriel and Elder Wu are from the Wu family. I wonder who is the descendant of the Chung family?" The Chung family. Huh, the Chung family is gone. They have no descendants. Li Yugui sighed and felt extremely emotional. However, he quickly collected his emotions and immediately changed the topic. Actually, the other 3 families aren't much better. The Lin family only has Lin Yuxi left, and Elder Wu is all alone. I think he will be alone for the rest of his life. As for my son, I don't plan to ask him to be a blue metal again in the future. The so-called blue metal aristocratic families are extinct in this generation. Jiang Wang thought about it and didn't ask why. There were naturally many stories as to why the 4 great Azure Card aristocratic families had once been so famous and powerful. Li Yugui wasn't willing to talk about it, nor was he able to. He only sighed. The affairs of the world are like this. It makes one restless. Li Yugui didn't have the intention to continue talking about history. He changed the topic. "Although I am much older, Lin Yuxi and I are actually of the same generation." He laughed self-deprecatingly. "Look, one is guilty, the other is evil." The 4 blue metal aristocratic families were actually of the same generation. It was obvious how deep their friendship was in the early years. No wonder Li Yugui taught Lin Yuxi a lesson as if he was teaching his own child, and Lin Yuxi didn't resist. The 4 blue metal aristocratic families had such a complicated relationship and such a glorious history. No wonder Lin Yuxi could still be like a fish in water within the blue metal. Even the son of a Northern Yamen's military officer, Zheng Shangming, said that she wasn't to be trifled with. Jiang Wang thought about it and said apologetically, "I think you have your own concerns." I didn't understand. Just now I spoke without thinking and was really rash. I hope Sir Li doesn't take offense. Li Yugui laughed bitterly and said, "You don't know, Lin Yuxi has always had a fear disorder." Fear disorder? Li Yugui sighed. When Sir Lin Kuang died, someone deliberately did evil. Without any preparation, Sir Lin Kuang's body was thrown in front of Lin Yuxi, who was 3 years old at the time. Since then, she has suffered from fear disorder. Fear of corpses. When she sees corpses, her fear disorder will act up. Her 3 souls will be in chaos, and her 7 spirits will be frightened. She can only maintain it with medicine. Previously, she made that medicine herself. Jiang Wang thought of Lin Yuxi's calmness when she dissected the corpse. He was shocked speechless. It's the 11th. After being in the top 10 for more than 20 days, it was beaten by an event in the last 2 days. It's inevitable that I'm a little unhappy. But life is about being yourself and moving forward. Sooner or later, you will reach where you're supposed to be. Brothers and sisters, please don't be impatient. Enjoy the world of the Red Heart Survey. Tonight is still better. Chapter 12:18. It was already August and the night was cool. Li Yugui explained in the high-speed flight. I told her to stop hanging the blue metal early in the morning. She didn't need to come into contact with cases, and we could arrange a good future for her. But Elder Wu said that she was the last descendant of the Lin family, and he wanted her to make her own decisions. All these years, she has been relying on drugs to deal with corpses, and she has become a very outstanding blue metal arrestor. Indeed, very outstanding, Jiang Wang said, but she is too competitive. She competes with others and also with herself. In this world, there are not only clues and answers, and there are not only cases. She used her father as an example, but what was the result of that example? Jiang Wang didn't know what to say to Li Yogui's question. He just suddenly remembered. That time in the morgue, Lin Yuxi suddenly asked him to help. Could it be that she was actually afraid herself? Jiang Wang had killed countless people along the way. Of course, he was not afraid of corpses, but dissecting and studying a corpse in such detail did make him instinctively uncomfortable. Lin Yuxi, on the other hand, had a phobia of not being able to face corpses. She had such a disease, but she still used the blue metal as her job to look for clues on corpses. She was not inferior to any coroner. What was she thinking when she was there, pounding the drugs expressionlessly? Liu Gui continued. When I said I was sad for her misfortune, I was actually pitying her misfortune. When I said I was angry that she was not competitive, I was angry that she was too competitive. There are some things that she can't solve. He glanced at Xiaoyu. It's also not something that we can solve. Then who can solve it? Only God knows. Jiang Wang thought for a moment and asked, was there any secret behind Lord Lin Kuang's death? Liu Gui was silent for a moment, then said, I shouldn't have told you this. At this time, they had unknowingly flown away from the border of Qi. In the evening wind, there was only a slight sigh. Jiang Wang asked, where is Yang Xuanzi hiding now? Liu Gui said, according to the information I just received, arrest her, Li. Constable Jiang. A loud voice came rolling from afar under the night sky. Jiang Wang and Liu Gui both turned their heads and saw Yulong's dignified face rapidly approaching. Lord Yu, why are you here? Liu Yu asked guiltily. How can I not come when there's news of the remnants of the Yang kingdom? Yulong gritted his teeth and said, letting King Qinguang escape is the greatest shame of my life. We have to find some clues and drag them out. First, it was Liu Gui. Next, it was Yulong. This team of criminals was getting stronger and stronger. Jiang Wang couldn't help but say, with the two of you taking action, how can Yang Xuanzi escape? I'm more like a decoration. Yulong thought for a while and said, it's a bit of a waste of time for you to follow us overseas to arrest criminals. Why don't you go back first? Constable Li and I will go. No, Liu Wei said guiltily. This case was handed over to Constable Jiang by His Majesty. He has already left the country. If he goes back empty-handed, it will be hard to explain. We might as well go. With us around, he won't be at a disadvantage. Yulong nodded. You're right. I didn't think it through. The two cultivators from God's descent discussed Jiang Wang's path with a few words and continued flying forward together. Where are the remnants of the Yang kingdom hiding now? Yulong asked the question Jiang Wang had asked earlier. Liu Gui joked, you didn't even investigate the details of the intelligence before you rushed out. Are you afraid that I'll betray our Qis Tianjiao? Yulong said with a straight face. Old Li, how dare you make fun of me? I've already said that I'll go to the gates of hell. You got the clues, but didn't tell me. You're so mean. It was an emergency. I didn't think so much. Liu Gui smiled and said in a relaxed tone, that little prince of the Yang kingdom is also lucky to have the world's #1 inner court to arrest him and us two old soldiers. It should be so easy for such a team to arrest Yang Xuanzi. However, for some reason, Jiang Wang suddenly felt a great uneasiness in his heart. He didn't know where this uneasiness came from, but he inexplicably remembered that on the streets of Linzi, the fortune-teller who should be Yu Beidou had said that he would face a bloody disaster. Where are we going to get Yang Xuanzi? He asked again. According to the intelligence, it's not far ahead. Liu Gui said. This was a bear mountain. After flying for a while after leaving Qi's territory, they were probably about to enter Zheng's territory. With the Zhuhe alliance, they could fly unhindered in the eastern domain, and they didn't have to worry about any borders. However, the uneasiness in Jiang Wang's heart still didn't disappear. He was just about to find a reason to retreat. Suddenly, in a call in front of them, two streams of light rose into the air and headed north and south. It seemed that the people who were originally hiding here were alerted and hurriedly fled. Liu Gui took the lead and chased to the north. At the same time, he shouted, you take the left, and I'll take the right. Don't let them escape. Yulong didn't have time to say more. He moved and disappeared into the southern sky. In an instant, only Jiang Wang was left in the strong arrest team. He couldn't catch up in any direction. He glanced at the call and didn't see any clues. It should be a temporary hiding place. He simply left a blue metal's mark on the spot to tell Yulong that he was guilty and that he had returned. Then, he turned around and flew in the direction of Qi. Regardless of whether the fortune teller was accurate or not, his life was his. There was no harm in being careful. However, just as he turned around and flew in the direction of Qi, a terrifying aura that exuded a substantial killing intent rose from the ground and blocked his path. Jiang Wang didn't say anything and opened the secret manual, Chasing Wind. Starlight entered his body and the power of totems exploded. He was covered in the Buzhou wind and bathed in the Samadhi fire, showing the state of a sword immortal. Then, he turned around and stepped on the green clouds as he sped towards the west. He had no intention of fighting at all. Just by sensing this aura, he knew that the gap between them was insurmountable. The only thing he could do was to run for his life. He had to stall for as much time as possible before this unknown powerhouse caught up. Other than that, he couldn't do anything else. Interesting. A voice sounded beside his ear. It was a strange female voice that seemed to have been modified in some way. Jiang Wang didn't have time to examine it carefully. While he opened the immortal sound state to collect information, he turned in the air and used the flexibility of the instant clear sky immortal technique to change his direction. 2 breaths later, the voice approached again. "I'd like to see how long you can run." The owner of the voice didn't seem to be in a hurry to capture him. Instead, like a cat playing with a mouse, she wanted to torture him. Jiang Wang didn't say anything and immediately turned towards the west. Then, he felt a soft and boneless hand pressed against his back. A terrifying force exploded. The defense of the Rui immortal robe was broken first. Then, the Buzhou wind disappeared, and the Samadhi fire extinguished. Puff! Jiang Wang's sword immortal state was directly shattered. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body was pushed forward rapidly. It was even faster than his maximum speed. A few drops of blood splattered into his eyes and covered them with a dark red color. Should I say that you Beidou jinxed it? It's really a bloody disaster. At the critical moment of life and death, such a strange thought flashed through Jiang Wang's mind. But his body quickly reacted and regained control of itself. He stepped on the green clouds and sped towards the south. No matter how big the gap was, no matter how torturous it was, no matter how predestined it was, he would never give up struggling. Chapter 12:19. What a strong young man. The voice behind him said, "I remember that you're not even 20 yet." The voice was almost close to the back of Jiang Wang's neck. He could even feel the terror of his hair being blown by the breath. However, Clang, he suddenly turned around and unsheathed his Chongxi. He only responded with a sword strike. He swung his sword to the left and pressed it to the right. It was the human sword. The moment he turned around, he also saw the strong man chasing him. There was only the outline of a human. His appearance, figure, and clothes were all hidden in his field of vision. Even that silhouette was in fact just a terrifying trace created in the air by a powerful force. He looked at his opponent, but he couldn't see his opponent. Then, clang, the outline of a slender finger popped out and flicked Chongxi's sword. The sword momentum that he relied on as his trump card was easily broken. A terrifying force poured into the long sword. Jiang Wang refused to let go. He followed the sword. Suddenly, he moved more than 100 feet. He forcefully suppressed his annoyance, cut off his despair, and suppressed his qi and blood. His body was still flying helplessly when the green cloud mark appeared beside his feet. He tapped it lightly, but it bent to the north. A swordsmanship with great potential, the strange female voice commented. He could only see the outline of a human figure in front of him. The sound of a tsunami was heard. The 8 sounds of burning sea spread out in front of him. However, the sound was scattered in front of a vertical saber. Jiang Wang turned sharply in the air, but he went east again. Slap! Just then, a slap came from the east. Jiang Wang felt as if he had hit an iron wall. Under the huge momentum, He almost had the illusion that he had been smashed into a meat patty. His internal organs seemed to have shifted. He fell backward and stomped his feet. The green cloud mark dissipated, and he moved dozens of feet to the west. Thanks to the huge and stable isolated island of heaven and earth, the large number of rooms opened up by the inner mansion, and the rich reserves of Tao energy, Jiang Wang quickly regained control of his body. He somersaulted in the air, stood up, and rushed to the west. Do you think you can escape? Even if Yu Longli returns with guilt, he can't save you. In the sky, the bright moon suddenly swayed. The frost light formed into beams and fell down. Jiang Wang stepped on a cloud and dodged frantically. A beam of moonlight landed beside him, directly and noiselessly piercing through the mountain peak below. With a frightening glance, it was unknown how deep the black hole had penetrated. This attack was definitely not something his physical body could withstand. Jiang Wang moved to the left and right, up and down, pushing his meteoric rise to the extreme, constantly dodging the terrifying moonbeam attacks. Under the night sky, on a barren mountain, she was tired, and her figure was delicate. The moonlight was like a forest, and he was like a blue bird. What a beautiful movement technique, the strange female voice said. He seemed to be very appreciative of the scene in front of him and sighed in admiration. After every 20 breaths of time, the speed of these moonbeams will increase by 10%, and the number will also increase by 10%. She said encouragingly, Jiang Tianjiao, please work hard. The difference in strength was like a natural chasm that was impossible to surmount. This expert who had suddenly appeared seemed to have a perverted interest in watching him struggle bitterly. As for Jiang Wang, he could only struggle. The moonbeams came faster and faster, and more appeared. Jiang Wang was completely trying to survive in the cracks, flying swiftly at the edge of the cliff. He was like a bird that had fallen into a trap. No matter how hard he struggled, he could not fly out of the cage. The time limit of the immortal state had long passed, but he was still fully focused, constantly observing the environment. He saw with his eyes, heard with his ears, smelled with his nose, and felt with his heart. Distant mountains, dense forests, long nights, the sound of insects and birds being disturbed, the sound of clothes fluttering in the wind, the sound of his own blood rushing violently. Everything he saw, heard, and smelled was constantly being combined in his heart, searching for that slim chance of victory. The azure cloud mark shattered and reappeared. Under the autumn moon, Tianjiao, dressed in blue, suddenly sped left and right. The blood at the corner of his mouth had not yet disappeared, but there was no fear in his eyes, only determination. He did not know where the enemy came from, who the enemy was, how to escape, and when the end was. But he was determined to struggle. He had to do everything he could. The mountain valley where the criminal team was scattered was actually somewhat quiet and secluded. When Liu Gui flew back, Yulong was looking around for something. Sir Yu, Liu Gui asked, did you get the man? He escaped. Yuling asked, what about your side? Liu Gui shook his head. These bastards run really fast. All right. He asked again, where is Jiang Wang? I don't know. Yulong looked around. I just came back, but I didn't see anyone. Are there any traces of battle? Liu Gui asked seriously. I didn't find him either. Yulong said. Liu Gui focused his gaze and looked around. He pointed at a special mark on a mountain rock and smiled. This kid went back first. Yulong was no stranger to the special mark on the blue metal. After looking at it, he heaved a sigh of relief. If anything happens to Huang Hekui, the two of us can't escape the blame. Liu Gui's tone was also very relaxed. If Tianjiao is really lost, I will be responsible. After all, I brought him out to arrest the criminal. All right, let's go back first. Yulong wasn't in the mood to joke. This matter isn't that simple. These two people can escape from our hands, so they must be very powerful. How can a prince from a dead country have such power? Liu Gui nodded. This case needs to be investigated further. But maybe he was hired. It wasn't strange for Yang Xuanza to have something like a treasure trove in his hands. All right, did you get any information about the person you were chasing? Is he the king of hell? Yulong said, he shouldn't be the king of hell. But I can't see his background. He escaped too quickly. Li Yugui agreed. Yes, I don't know where he came from. These black rats. Each and every one of them has hidden themselves very well. The two constables of the God Descent State talked as they flew back to Qi. What? Constable Jiang didn't come back? In the Blue Metal secret base in Lu City, Li Yugui frowned and asked. Lin Yuxi was drawing a picture of a corpse in front of the city gate. This was Huang Yixing's fallen death painting. Hearing this, he paused. Didn't Sir Jiang go with you to catch the Yangxuanzi? Why did you and Sir Yu come back? Yulong's expression turned ugly. He turned around and looked at Li Yugui. You have to take responsibility for this. I won't run away from the responsibility that I have to take. Li Yugui's voice turned cold. You have to think about how to explain why you followed us halfway. The two of them who looked like close comrades a moment ago were now at daggers drawn. The current Jiang Wang was no longer an insignificant person. He was a third-rank official in Tianjiao, the representative of the younger generation in Qi. Lin Yuxi lowered his gaze and looked at the unfinished black tile in the painting. At this moment, a small official hurried in with a jade slip in his hand. What's the emergency? Li Yugui asked. This small official was from the secret base, so he knew the three of them. He reported directly. The chief constable of Zhaoheng City is in trouble. His whole family was killed. Including the chief constable? Lin Yuxi asked. The small official answered, including him, his whole family was killed. Yulong also knew about the case that Jiang Wang and Lin Yuxi were investigating. Of course, he knew what role the chief constable of Zhaoheng City played. So he asked, are there any clues now? The small official said nervously, Sir Jiang went there to investigate. Chapter 1220. Jiang Wang had already noticed that he was being consciously driven away. He had to try his best to survive the mysterious expert's attacks again and again. The entire escape route was winding and crooked. Occasionally, it would repeat, but overall, it was heading west. In other words, he was getting further and further away from Qi. If the other party wanted to kill him, he would have been killed long ago. However, even if the other party didn't have any killing intent towards him, most of the time, the attacks were powerful enough to kill him. If he couldn't dodge in time, he would have died on the spot. The other party didn't seem to be in a hurry to kill him, nor did he mind killing him. The only thing that was clear was that this mysterious enemy was indeed enjoying the process of chasing him down. It wasn't that he hadn't tried to turn around and escape to an important place to lure other experts to intervene in the battle so that he could survive. However, the pursuer was so powerful that he crushed him in all aspects. Most of the time, he only had two choices: escape according to the safe route left by the other party, or die on the spot. He had no choice. Although it was a safe route, he still had to do his best to squeeze in. This safe route perfectly avoided all the major forces along the way. It only meandered in the wilderness, the border, and uninhabited places. It only went west. He didn't know what was waiting for him ahead. He also didn't know how long this chase would last. A life and death crisis lingering for a long time was an extreme torture for anyone. Out of the fair arena environment and away from opponents of the same level, he, the world's #1 intermansion expert, realized the cruelty of this world. In real life, there was often no fairness to speak of. There was no Tianjiao where he couldn't die. Being chased by experts who were at least at the immortal realm was the reality at this moment. Faster, try your best. The strange female voice seemed to be murmuring, as if it found pleasure in Jiang Wang's wretched struggle. As for Jiang Wang, he continued to struggle. In such a hopeless situation, turning back to die without being humiliated might be considered heroic. But seizing all the opportunities to struggle could show the strength of one's heart. The long night had passed. The sky completely tore apart the curtain of night. Jiang Wang glanced back occasionally when he turned around, but he could only see the outline of the person who was chasing after him. He should be thankful that he could only see the silhouette. If he could see it clearly, the other party might have already decided to kill him. In the five residences C, in the cloud apex immortal palace, good fortune azure clouds were being sent out by the azure cloud pavilion. Bai Yin Child clenched his small fists. He was so anxious that his forehead was covered with sweat. Jiang Wang suddenly appeared in the north and south. He used everything he had to constantly push himself to his limits. He made the most precise choices to seek a chance of survival amidst the terrifying attacks. First, it was the moonbeam, then it was the water all, and now it was the wind blades that looked like floating leaves. The sky was filled with sparks. Qing Shan performed his solo dance. That's great, that's great. No one in the inner palace can compare to you. Let me see more. The strange woman's voice suddenly became sharp. More. The wind blades became faster, denser, and sharper. Under this terrifying attack, Jiang Wang could not dodge in time. His body was instantly covered with countless wounds, and he was immediately covered in blood. However, he did not even cry out in pain. From last night until now, he had not said a single word. He had been so focused on running for his life. There was no point in complaining. Insults could not hurt people. Begging for mercy was useless. In this moment of crisis, he only did things that were useful. Therefore, he did not say a word. He tried to control his body and moved forward with difficulty in the wind blades that filled the sky. If he was destined to die, was it worth it to suffer so much before death? Jiang Wang did not believe in fate. What he trusted the most was in his hands. As the azure cloud shattered, Chang Xiangxi moved nimbly. When Jiang Wang could not dodge in time, it deflected the wind blades. Jiang Wang had never thought that a wind blade could be so powerful. If he wanted to deflect it, he would have to withstand the terrifying impact, as if he was fighting with a sword master. Flick, wipe, cut, stab, hack. The most basic sword moves circled around his body. Jiang Wang displayed his solid swordsmanship foundation in addition to his wonderful body movements. This was the reality of countless days and nights of sweat. Every movement of his was natural and smooth. That strange female voice seemed to have fallen into some kind of deranged mood. You intoxicate me. You intoxicate me. Thus, wind blades fell from the sky, stone alls rose from the ground, and fire flowed in all directions. It was a desperate situation. Finally, there was no way to escape. It was already the final moment. Jiang Wang gripped his sword tightly. He turned around resolutely and looked straight at the human silhouette. The roaring sword intent soared into the sky. If there was no way to escape, then he would die facing the enemy. No matter who it was, he could not be restrained. At this moment, a large hand with distinct joints suddenly flew from the sky. With a swipe, the wind blades, stone alls, and flowing fire were all swept away. Who are you? How dare you stop me? The strange female voice screamed. A burly man appeared out of nowhere and stood majestically in midair. Without any hesitation, he sent a slap forward. This slap was like a mountain toppling forward. The sound of the wind was like thunder. You eccentric thing, Scram, the tall and sturdy man shouted. The human silhouette suddenly disappeared, leaving only a hateful voice in its original place. I'll remember you. Thousands of miles of rivers and mountains were clear and bright. In the five residence sea, in the cloud-top immortal palace, Bai Yuntong suddenly lay on the ground with his limbs spread out. I'm so tired. No one knew why he was so tired. In the real world, Jiang Wang also let out a long sigh of relief. Only then did he frown from the pain that came from all over his body. He barely stabilized his body and looked at the person who suddenly appeared to help him. It was a man with a majestic appearance. He looked to be in his 40s. He had a burly figure and wore a black and gold wind-riding robe. His aura was awe-inspiring and extraordinary. Jiang Wang was sure that he had never seen this person before. In his memory, he could not find any information about experts who were similar to this person. Senior, may I know your name? Jiang Wang put his sword behind his back and bowed. Jiang Wang will repay your kindness in the future. Ha ha. The man laughed and waved his hand. What can you repay me, Gushi? Little kid, go home and cry. Then he took a step forward and disappeared in front of Jiang Wang. It was as if he was really passing by. Then, he couldn't bear to see the weird female voice tormenting people. So, he casually attacked and left. It was indescribably heroic and unrestrained. Gu Shi, Jiang Wang, thought about this name, but he still could not find any corresponding information in his memory. But now is not the time to think about this. He roughly looked at the direction and hurriedly left without even treating his wounds. This expert named Gu Shi had already left. If the pursuers were to come back, they would not have a good ending. After fleeing for so long, Jiang Wang did not know where he was anymore. In order to prevent someone from waiting for him, he did not rush to Qi. The mysterious pursuer chased him all the way to the west. It was not wise to go west. His choice was no more than north or south. In his mind, if the pursuer came back, he would definitely speed up and chase further away. Or, to avoid being in the dark, he would search nearby. So, although he chose to go south, he flew until he reached a place where there were people. Then, he took the opportunity to hide and hid in the third town he saw on the way. Without alerting anyone, he quietly entered the attic of a rich family in the town. He put on his stealth clothes, curled up in a corner, and silently began to treat his wounds. Chapter 12:21. Within Linzi City, one shocking news after another spread through the entire city at a terrifying speed. Every corner of the city, in the taverns and restaurants, was filled with the news. Have you heard? When Zhao Xian was assassinated at the Shaolin Bridge, Qin Yangzi was the one who helped the assassins enter the city, and then he helped them escape. No way. No way. The guild master of the treasure-gathering chamber of commerce, Su Shi, just happened to run into them outside the city and was killed on the spot. The assassins were King Qingguang and Corner Wang. The coachman of the Bao's carriage company was also killed. That's not right. Didn't Su Shi get the information about Pao's carriage and horse company and ambush Qin Yangzi on the official road? Then he was killed by Jiang Wang, Cheng Gengsheng, and Cheng Gengsheng's bodyguard? You believe that? Jiang Wang hadn't even reached the inner mansion, let alone Cheng Gengsheng. How could they kill Su Shi? Didn't they say that Xiong Tu suppressed him secretly? When Cheng Gengsheng and Xiong Tu left the city, Su Shi was already dead. Then Zheng Genjia, hey, I can't tell you. Do you know that our nation's prodigy is actually a spy of the Pingping state? He won the Tianjiao's trust by working with Cui Ju at the master ceremony. Actually, he has only been in Qi for a few years. How could he be qualified to represent Qi? Don't talk nonsense. He is the leader of the Yellow River. He is the pride of Qi. What bullsh asterisk T pride? He deserves to be sold, and you still help him count the money. Do you know about the Crying Temple case? What are you talking about? That is taboo. When the Crying Temple case happened, other than Zhang Yong, only Jiang Wang was there. Why do you think Jiang Wang is there every time the Pingping state does something? Maybe it's just a coincidence, huh? Coincidence. Then this time, he was covering for the imperial family of the Yang Kingdom and killed the entire family of the constable of Zhaoying City. This couldn't be a coincidence, right? He stood up for the remnants of the Yang Kingdom's imperial family and instigated General Chao, Jia, to teach Huang Yixing a lesson. Is this also a coincidence? Isn't this case still under investigation? Let me tell you a secret. Don't tell anyone else. My brother-in-law works in the city's patrol office. The evidence for this case is conclusive, so there's nothing to investigate. It was only because Jiang Wang had just become the champion of the Yellow River and received a generous reward from the emperor that the matter was temporarily suppressed for the sake of the imperial court's reputation. After a few years, when the limelight has passed, you can take a look again. I still don't believe it. Jiang Wang is the world's #1 inner palace. He has a bright future ahead of him. Why would he want to be a spy for the Pingping state? What benefits would he get? What I want is an ideal, not a future. It was just that their ideals were very extreme. Let me tell you, Jiang Wang has already fled abroad. Do you think he can come back? In a very short period of time, such rumors had caused a storm in the city. After all, not long ago, Jiang Qingyang was praised as a hero by the entire nation. It could be said that everyone in Qi knew about him. As a result, the discussions about him were especially turbulent. In a luxurious carriage that slowly passed by the tea house, Li Fengyao heard the words carried by the wind. He raised his eyebrows slightly. I was just saying that I wanted to come back and see his glory. How did the rumors suddenly become like this? Sitting opposite him, Li Longchuan shook his head and smiled bitterly. I don't know. It's too sudden. A few days ago, we were drinking together. At that time, everything was normal. This time, he only went to Zhaoheng City to investigate a case. He didn't expect that he would disappear while investigating. When he turned around, there was a pile of cases on his head. Where is he now? I don't know. I can't contact him now. There's no news from Chenggung Sheng. Leaving Qi at this juncture is not a wise choice. Li Fengyao said. Isn't that right? Li Longchuan frowned. Li Fengyao thought for a moment and said, Jiang Wang is not an idiot. There's only one explanation for why he would make such a stupid choice. He didn't leave Qi willingly. He was on a rest mission at that time. Li Longchuan paused and asked, You're saying that there's something wrong with the two constables who went with him? Third-rank blue medal Liu Gui and God of Arrest Yulong are both famous Shunlin constables. They've been in the blue medal system for most of their lives. I'm just taking it for granted. If there's something wrong with them, I don't think the city inspector will let them go. Li Fengyao glanced at her brother. You seem to have something on your mind. Li Longchuan pursed his lips and finally said, Let's not talk about other things. But the thing about Jiang Wang leading the hell into the city seems to be true. Li Fengyao raised his chin slightly. His long neck was dazzlingly white and had a cold and arrogant arc. What do you mean? She asked. King Qing Wang teamed up with Corner Wang to kill Su Shi. The time and place are all right. The details match very well. Also, when the city inspector was investigating the assassination of Xiao Lianxiao, one of Yung Ginzun's subordinates was implicated, although he was cleared in the end. But you also know that at that time, Chenggung Sheng and Wang Yiwu were fighting fiercely. Li Longchuan said slowly, Besides, Jiang Wang and Ying Guan didn't know each other before coming to Qi. This matter can be found out after an investigation in Yu State. If this is true, I'd like to ask. Li Fengyao said, At that time, only King Qing Wang, Corner Wang, Jiang Wang, and Su Shi were present. Since the first three were in cahoots, and Su Shi was already dead, then who was the one who spread the news? If that's the case, there's still something suspicious about this matter. What did your family do? Li Fengyao asked. My father personally went to the city inspector's office to pressure them to handle this matter impartially. Uncle has a say in Donghua Pavilion. Li Longchuan said, No matter what, we're friends. I won't let anyone wrong him. Li Fengyao lifted the curtain and looked at the bright sun in the sky. He only said, It's going to rain. In the city inspector's office, in a secret room, Xie Huaiyan sat at the head of the table and looked at the person opposite him. Arrest are you? Do you have anything to say? Yulong put his hands on his knees and sat upright. He said seriously, There's something wrong with Liu Gui. Almost at the same time, in another secret room, almost the same words sounded. The only difference was that the person who spoke was Liu Gui, and the person who asked was the commandant of the northern Yamen, Zheng Shi. There's something wrong with Yulong. Liu Gui looked at Zheng Shi and said in an agitated tone, If there's nothing wrong with him, why did he suddenly join us? We blue metal cases have procedures. Although he has a special status and can be more casual, he shouldn't be so rash. We were almost sure to catch him, but in the end, the other party discovered us in advance and lured us away, causing Arrestor Jiang to disappear as well. Zheng Shi looked at him and said slowly, Can I understand it this way? Arrestor Li, you don't think there's something wrong with Jiang Wang? I think the rumors out there are completely ridiculous. Liu Gui said, Although I haven't had much contact with Arrestor Jiang, I know that he has a good character. More importantly, he has a bright future into Qi. No matter where he goes, he won't have a better future. He must be out of his mind to do those things. But the family that was wiped out in Zhaoheng City, Zheng Shi said, what was at the scene was indeed Jiang Wang's sword style. Liu Gui said decisively, That's too easy to imitate. It's not enough evidence. Yulong used Arrestor God as his title. If he deliberately set up the scene, who could see through it? What do you think is Yulong's motive? Zheng Shi asked. I don't know about that. Li Yugui's eyes flashed. Maybe it's for the resources of the Dongzhen state. Or maybe it's for some other reason. Maybe the state of equality? If possible, I suggest that we search his soul directly. Zheng Shi lowered his head and flipped through the file. He didn't say anything. This suggestion was completely impossible. With Yulong's status, not to mention that there was no solid evidence now. Even if he was convicted, searching his soul would still require the approval of the emperor. To a cultivator, having one's soul searched was the greatest humiliation. Their life's secrets were all known to others, and they had no self-esteem to speak of. Those who had their souls searched would most likely have their Taoist heart broken. In the process of searching one's soul, the slightest carelessness would cause one's soul to be destroyed. If they searched Yulong's soul rashly, everyone in the court would be in danger. For the same reason, the northern government wouldn't use such methods on Li Yugui. Zheng Shi just didn't expect that Li Yugui had such a deep conflict with Yulong. When did it start? What's wrong with Li Yugui? In another room, Xie Huaiyan asked. Yulong said, First of all, although the information about the remaining members of the Yang family entered the secret palace through official channels, and Li Yugui was indeed on duty that day, his actions were too decisive. The secret palace had so much information in one day, and there were so many things to do in the inspection office, but he didn't waste a single breath and rushed to Hingyang County. I have every reason to suspect that he was already prepared and was just waiting for such a procedure. Secondly, as soon as he arrived at Hingyang County, he requested to close the case and took Jiang Wang out of the country. After I chased after him, under his reckless command, we split into two groups, which led to Jiang Wang's disappearance. He was the only one who knew the information, and he was the one who commanded the operation. Now that something has happened, how can it be justified to say that he's innocent? Xie Huaiyan thought for a moment and asked, Do you think Jiang Wang fled to avoid punishment, or did something happen to him? I can't say for sure. Yulong thought for a moment and shook his head. Now that I think about it, there are indeed many suspicious points about this Jiang Wang. But if there's something wrong with Jiang Wang, then Li Yugui must be an accomplice. We all know that with Jiang Wang's current reputation, the lord in charge of the nation-protecting formation must be concerned about his safety. Only by going abroad in the name of carrying out a blue metal mission, accompanied by a Shunlin cultivator like him, would he not be investigated. For the same reason, if there's nothing wrong with Jiang Wang, then there must be something wrong with Li Yugui, because he knew that only by tricking Jiang Wang out of the Qi region could he possibly harm him. In short, Xie Huaiyan's expression was calm. No matter what, there's something wrong with Li Yugui? Yulong said decisively, Exactly. Chapter 1222. Why else would people say that Jiang Wang chose to live in a rich family? Most people's attics were connected by a straight staircase, but this attic had a proper staircase. Woo woo woo. A gray puppy whimpered as it ran up the attic. The stairs were a bit high for it, so the first thing Jiang Wang saw was a cluster of gray fluff. Then the puppy seemed to roll up the stairs. It seemed to have been beaten up somewhere, and there were some mud spots on its body. This pitiful little thing looked like it was in a sorry state. After it climbed up the attic, it stopped barking. Its little tail swayed as it went straight to the corner of the wooden plank. It curled up into a ball and lay there, gently licking its own paws. At this time, Jiang Wang, who was curled up in another corner to recuperate, looked at the gray puppy and felt sympathy for it. He thought for a moment, took out an iron berry, and threw it forward. Since Jiang Anan showed a special love for this fruit, every time he saw Yin Ke, he would extort a few from her. He had accumulated a lot of iron berries. The iron berry rolled to the front of the gray puppy. The little gray puppy got up, its little tail stood up, vigilantly looking left and right. It also fiercely bared its teeth, trying to scare the non-existent enemy. But obviously, it could not see Jiang Wang. It stood there alone for a long time, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, but did not find the target. Finally, he was tired and lay back down. He did not even look at the ordinary-looking ironberry. Jiang Wang helplessly flicked his finger, and a wisp of wind pushed the ironberry forward again. The little gray puppy seemed to have discovered this strange fruit at this time. It probably felt that the fruit was not a threat, so it lazily lay down and stretched out a paw to pull the ironberry. It tilted its little head and seemed to be a little interested. It stretched out another fleshy claw and pulled it back. Roll, roll, roll. This fruit, which could be called a treasure, rolled back and forth under the little gray puppy's paw. The little gray puppy's eyes were sparkling. Such a monotonous but happy scene made Jiang Wang feel a little better. It was just that it was a little stupid, as if it didn't know that this fruit could be eaten. Jiang Wang decided to be a good person to the end. With a slight flick of his finger, a wisp of sword chi moved nimbly and instantly peeled the ironberry, causing the fruit's fragrance to fill the air. The little greyhound suddenly shrank back, its eyes wide open, as if it was horrified by this scene. It should be said that it was a very vigilant dog, but the fragrance of the fruit was simply too fragrant. Therefore, it hesitantly moved forward and touched the fruit with its claws. After making sure that the fruit was not a monster, it sniffed it and took a small bite. His tail started wagging rapidly. Its entire head was stuck on the ironberry, and it kept opening and closing its mouth, trying to swallow it. It was fighting with itself. The corners of Jiang Wang's mouth twitched. Only then did he withdraw his attention and focus on his injuries. Eat it. The sooner you grow up, the sooner you can beat back whoever beats you, he thought with some amusement. There were wounds all over his body, and pain was everywhere. He could only entertain himself like this. It was only now that he was able to calm down and review the strange pursuit incident. First, Li Yugue. From the beginning, he was wondering why Li Yugue suddenly went to Hengyang County. As everyone knew, Huang Yixing's case was completely led by him. The Emperor of Qi wanted to use him as an example to set the tone for this big case involving Chao Jie, and to quell the conflict between the new and old Qis in Qi. When a blue metal like Li Yugue intervened, it would immediately divert attention, making it difficult to distinguish between priority and priority. When he came, he first said that the case was closed and that he would not affect the judgment of this case. Then, he threw out the news of the remaining members of the Yang family and brought Jiang Wang with him to arrest them, ending this case together with the Xiao Linxiao case at that time. Jiang Wang was indeed persuaded. Especially after the previous trip to Xingyue Plain, they had established a certain degree of friendship. In addition, the secrets of the 4 blue metal families and Lin Yuxi, Jiang Wang's attention was indeed attracted. These things could originally be explained, but after his accident, it became a point of suspicion. And Yulang's joining in halfway was also very strange. This famous arrester was like a hothead who was eager to take credit. For the news of the remaining members of the Yang family, he flew through the night and forcibly joined the pursuit team. The question was, did Yulong need to take credit for this? Of course. Yulong himself also gave an explanation, saying that he was interested in the door to hell. King Qingguang had achieved God's arrival in front of him and left. At the same time that Ying Guanwei's fame spread far and wide, Yulong's reputation as an arrester was inevitably covered with dust. It made sense. However, it was still the same. In a situation where the danger had already appeared, it was also difficult to clarify this point. Not to mention that when the 2 mysterious people escaped in the valley, the 2 arresters of God's arrival immediately chased after them, leaving the young Tianjiao alone. This was originally not a problem. Any cultivator of God's arrival was an existence that surpassed the mortal's lifespan, a person who was truly like a god. It was impossible for them to follow a young Tianjiao around all day and protect him at all times. Even if Jiang Wang was now a leading figure of the younger generation in Qi, it was not realistic. The relationship between father and son and master and disciple was another matter. Jiang Wuhua and Jiang Wuqi, who were qualified to compete for the throne, were also exceptions. Jiang Wang was not. At most, the experts of the Qi Kingdom's guardian array would pay extra attention to him to ensure his safety in the Qi Kingdom. However, there was a limit to this. After all, it was impossible for experts of that level to keep an eye on Jiang Wang every day. Jiang Wang himself would not be willing to do so. At most, they would use some warning methods so that they could react quickly after Jiang Wang was in trouble. Outside of Qi, it was useless. Just like when Cheng Gengsheng went out of the city to look for Su Shi, Chong Xian and Chu Liang quickly followed. If it were someone else, who would let Xiong Tu guard them like this? He also needed to cultivate and advance from the number 1 god's arrival in the eastern region to the insightful truth realm. Therefore, it was not a problem for Li Yugui and Yulong to split up and chase after the fleeing targets based on the blue metal mission. Jiang Wang was not a baby who could not take care of himself. But as soon as they left, the attack happened. It had to be said that it was too much of a coincidence. Who was the problem? In addition, although the mysterious person who chased after him only showed a silhouette throughout the whole process, some information was still exposed. First of all, this mysterious person had concealed himself and changed his voice in a situation where his strength was completely overwhelming. This was enough to show that this person's true identity must be very afraid of being exposed. This was a very important clue. Secondly, this chase, which could be regarded as intentional torture, exposed the hatred of the mysterious person. Her almost crazy emotions showed her hatred for Jiang Wang everywhere. But Jiang Wang asked himself honestly, he did not think that any enemy would have such hatred for him. Along the way, of course, he had some powerful enemies, such as Ji Shaoqing's master, Gu Huaixin. For example, Zhuang Gaoxian, the monarch of Zhuang State, and Du Ruhui, the prime minister of Zhuang State. But if it were them, as long as they had the chance, they would kill him immediately. They would never play the chase game with him. Unless Jiang Wang came to a realization. She doesn't hate me. She hates Tianjiao of Qi. She hates Qi. A light flashed in his mind. Xingyue Plain, Fangzheng Star, Pingding State. Under Master Guanyan's counterattack, he heard a muffled groan. Chapter 1223. Interestingly, the last time he went to Xingyue Plain, it was coincidentally Yu Leng and Li Yugui who accompanied him. That time, Master Guan Yin acted and stopped the attack of the mysterious expert from Pingping State. At the same time, he discovered a female expert from Pingping State who acted as a power transmission medium. However, Li Yugui, who was famous for his extremely sharp eyes, and Yu Leng, who was known as the god of capture, still lost their target. Even now, when Jiang Wang thought about it again, the 2 famous god descent realm hunters were secretly tailing them. But the expert from Pingping State still found the opportunity to act under their noses, trying to plant a mark in Jiang Wang's heart. Wasn't this suspicious? What kind of person were they tailing? They had solved cases their whole life, hunted criminals their whole life, and had a reputation. Even if their strength was not as strong as the expert from Pingping State, they should not be completely unaware of the problem. But if they turn a blind eye to it, everything could be explained between Yu Leng and Li Yugui. As long as one of them was connected to Pingping State, it would be enough to cover it up. Who was that person? Jiang Wang temporarily stopped thinking. His physical condition had finally recovered a little, and he could support a battle. However, the Rui immortal robe that he had just put on was already in tatters, and it looked really shabby. This pitiful treasure of the immortal palace, the first time it appeared, it encountered an expert that it could not resist. First, its defense was broken, and then its material was torn apart. It was about to be scrapped. Jiang Wang was about to tear off the tattered cloth under the immortal robe when he suddenly felt a strange feeling. He looked carefully and found that the Rui immortal robe was actually slowly recovering. It was slowly absorbing Jiang Wang's power, but it was not to form a defense, nor was it to store it, but to repair the immortal robe itself. Being able to repair itself greatly increased the value of this immortal robe. What was the material of this immortal robe? How could it do this? Was it mixed with some kind of immortal technique? Jiang Wang, who had the dreamlike token, the immortal code, and the cloud-top immortal palace, was extremely curious about this. Any part of the secret related to the immortal palace could help him upgrade the dreamlike token and integrate all the immortal palace's inheritance. However, there were more important things now. Since the Rui immortal robe could repair itself, there was no need to rush to tear it off. Jiang Wang felt the moon key in his hand and directly connected to the great illusionary realm. As soon as he entered the blessed land, he saw a dense mass of paper cranes fluttering over. All of them were abnormally large and crowded to the brim. Before he opened the letter, Jiang Wang felt warmth in his heart. No matter how much pain he suffered, how many people harbored malice towards him, how many plots he had to face, there were always people who believed in him, cared about him, and supported him. This world was not gentle to him, but it was not cruel either. He casually unfolded a paper crane and saw the words written on it. Where is it? Answer me. The second letter, idiot. Where is he? The third letter, if anything happens to you, I promise you that Li Yue, Yulong, and Lin Yuxi will all be buried with you. The fourth letter, Cheng Gongsheng, was a person who could be colder than anyone else when he was calm. With his intelligence, he naturally understood that sending out more paper cranes wouldn't make any difference at all. However, these seemingly bloated paper cranes came one after another. Jiang Wang did not continue reading. He held up the letter in his hand and replied, "He's still alive." The next moment, an invitation from the Xing River space appeared. Jiang Wang accepted the invitation and appeared in the Xing River Pavilion. The fat man in the Xing River Pavilion was completely different from the anxiety in the letter. Instead, he glanced at Jiang Wang from the corner of his eyes. "I really don't understand. What kind of brain would leave the country rashly while working for His Majesty?" Jiang Qingyang. He shook his head exaggeratedly and said, "You've opened my eyes." Jiang Wang disappeared in the process of going abroad to arrest a criminal. No one knew whether he was alive or dead. The negative news spread all over the city. 2 god-level blue medal holders were being questioned in the northern Yamen, and Jiang Wang could not be contacted. Even someone as intelligent as him felt restless and angry. To him, who prided himself on being calm and wise, these emotions were a sign of losing control. When he saw Jiang Wang in person, he could not help but feel angry. "It's already happened. Don't mention it again. It's useless." Jiang Wang waved his hand and said with a relaxed expression, "Why? Do you think I'm dead?" "Ha ha." Cheng Gongsheng sat down and sneered. "I don't need to use my hair to figure out that this plot was not set up just to kill you. As long as you can bear the consequences, killing you won't be so complicated. And you're so gullible." Jiang Wang automatically ignored the last sentence. He thought to himself, "So you don't use your fat, but your hair to help you think?" Su Gao Gao is not alone. He also sat down and said maliciously, "Then use your hair to help me analyze what's going on." Cheng Gongsheng was filled with a sense of superiority. He admired Jiang Wang's admiring gaze, he thought. He moved back to sit more comfortably. "Let's start from when you and Lin Yuxi went to Zhaoheng City." Jiang Wang smiled. "But I think we should talk about Ubeda first." "Ubeda?" Cheng Gongsheng rubbed his forehead and finally could not maintain his relaxed expression. "It really is like looking at flowers in a fog." At once, Jiang Wang recounted everything that had happened, starting from when he left the mansion to when he met Ubeidu on the way. He knew that Cheng Gongsheng's intelligence was far superior to his, so he did not add any subjective feelings and only described it as it was. Cheng Gongsheng listened quietly and said, "I found the first interesting thing." Jiang Wang said with style, "Let's hear it." Cheng Gongsheng said, "Li Yuxi and Yulong did not lie in their experience with you." There was a moment of silence. Jiang Wang asked, and then Cheng Gongsheng thought for a moment and said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you the premise. Now Li Yuxi and Yulong are biting each other's brains in Baya. They're accusing each other of betraying the country." Jiang Wang frowned. "Explain it more clearly." Cheng Gongsheng was obviously used to it. He sighed and said, "This means that they both know that you may not die, so they will not tell lies that will be exposed immediately. Otherwise, constables at their level have plenty of opportunities to set traps for the other party." Jiang Wang was silent for a moment and said, "Can I understand it this way? Yu Lung and Li Yuxi both know that the person who chased after me may not kill me. From this, we can infer that they both know that person." Cheng Gongsheng looked at him. "It seems that the person who chased after you left a very special impression on you." In the narration just now, Jiang Wang skimmed over the process of being chased and only emphasized the characteristics of that person's concealment. At this moment, his tone was also indifferent. "It's quite deep." Cheng Gongsheng then replied, "They may not necessarily know each other, but they should have some understanding of that person's personality and style." "So there are problems with both of them?" Jiang Wang asked. "It depends on the person and the matter, but at least for us, that is the case." Cheng Gongsheng answered. Jiang Wang asked, "What do they want to do?" "It's not that I belittle myself, but no matter how number one I am in the world, I am only at the intermansion stage. Do they need to mobilize such a force and go through so much trouble before this?" Cheng Gongsheng looked at him and smiled. "You still don't know how things are going in Lindsay now, do you?" Jiang Wang rolled his eyes. "How would I know? There's only one dog in my field of vision right now." Cheng Gongsheng's eyelids twitched. He felt that he had been insulted, but he didn't want to bicker with this idiot who had narrowly escaped death at this moment. He turned his face and smiled, recounting some of the rumors that were spreading like wildfire in Lindsay. He also repeated the discussions of some unrelated people to show the current public opinion environment in Lindsay. Although it was a retelling, some of the tones were imitated to the essence. For example, Jiang Wang, that bastard, is really a good-for-nothing. I didn't expect that Jiang Qingyang, a beast in human skin, would actually do such a thing. Jiang Wang listened to all of this without being surprised by praise or humiliation. He discovered that he had already kicked down the Widow's Gate in Yaoguang Square, dug up the graves of the exiles on Mount Herding Horse, sheltered the remnants of the Yang family, framed Great General Chao, was a spy of the Pingping State, a killer of the Gateless Hell, a secret member of the Fishing Sea Tower, plotted to overthrow the country, intervened in the Battle of Dragons. Chapter 1224. After telling everyone about the rumors in Lindsay, Cheng Gongsheng asked with a smile, "How do you feel now?" Jiang Wang asked back, "Does anyone believe it? Why not? Is it because you're the Tianjiao of Qi, the hero of Qi, and you're displaying the flag for your country on the Riverview platform?" Cheng Gongsheng said, "The statue on the altar is essentially just mud. It can be placed on the table or stepped on. Do you think you're invincible? Even the golden body of a divine descent expert can be broken, let alone your illusory halo." Jiang Wang didn't care at first, because it was basically nonsense. But after hearing Cheng Gongsheng's words, he couldn't help but ask, "How many people are stepping on this mud now?" "They're all over Lindsay." Cheng Gongsheng's gaze was faint as he counted with his fingers. "Not only are the streets and alleys full of curses, but there are also people from the imperial court who want to file a case against you. Some want to directly issue a warrant for your arrest. Some want to thoroughly investigate Qingyang Town and directly interrogate your subordinates. Even your Taishu Corner Tower in Tianfu City. There are people who want to nationalize it, suspecting that you have ulterior motives." Jiang Wang smiled. "Your smile is a little ironic." Cheng Gongsheng chuckled. "I just think," Jiang Wang said, "I risked my life in the bewildering world. I fought for Qi's glory on the Riverview platform. What I've done, what I've achieved, should earn me a little bit of trust. Naturally, there are people who trust you." Cheng Gongsheng said, "For example, me and 14. You don't understand." Jiang Wang shook his head. "Your trust is more because of feelings. What I'm saying is, why would those people who have never met me judge me based on a few words, but turn a blind eye to what I've really done?" "You don't understand," Cheng Gongsheng said. "Most of the time, what people say has nothing to do with what you do. This is how the world works, Jiang Wang. Can't you see it clearly? When you're in power, you're at the top of the clouds, and everyone will look up at you. When you lose power, you'll fall to the ground. When passers-by pass by you, won't they step on you? It's just a matter of convenience. Is that so? Jiang Wang's expression was complicated. The person who flatters you today may also be the person who tramples on you in the future. Cheng Gongsheng suddenly laughed. Don't be so serious, official Jiang. I'm just letting you get used to it beforehand. No matter what, you are still a dignified third-rank official. There will be more of such things in the future. Although Qi was big, it was still very crowded at high places. The higher you go, the more you will experience. Jiang Wang understood. What do you mean by letting me get used to it beforehand? Cheng Gongsheng didn't feel embarrassed at all. It's fine to say that you are a spy for the Pingdang state, but it's also very bold to say that you are scheming to restore the country. Why do you think there are still people saying that you kicked widows' doors and dug up graves of families with no descendants? Why? Jiang Wang looked at him. I did it. Cheng Gongsheng was quite proud. At that time, I didn't know whether you were alive or dead, so I just casually dealt with it, as if you were still alive. Jiang Wang roughly figured out his train of thought, but he couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. Even if you want to muddy the waters, you don't have to say that I dug up graves of families with no descendants, right? Cheng Gongsheng's fat flesh rippled with a smile. So you're saying that you don't mind kicking widows' doors? Jiang Wang choked and was speechless. After a while, he said, You're really something. You think that's the end of it? Cheng Gongsheng had a strange expression on his face. There are also people saying that you and I are homosexual, saying that we've been looking for excuses to live together, from the Xiaoshan Villa to Yaoguang Square, inseparable all the time. I didn't do that, he added. Jiang Wang was shocked. Then who did it? What's the point of creating this rumor? Who knows? Cheng Gongsheng said indifferently. The higher you stand, the more people can see you. And as for people, when there are more, there are all kinds of birds, some big, some small, some long, some short. Jiang Wang rolled his eyes. Are you talking about people? Ha ha. Cheng Gongsheng laughed. I'm just livening up the atmosphere. Back to the main topic. Do you know what this young master's ingenuity was this time? You reacted at the first moment and muddied the water. That's already very ingenious, Jiang Wang said respectfully. Is there anything more ingenious? Cheng Gongsheng snorted and waved his hand. That's nothing. But looking at his expression, it was obvious that he was enjoying it. After all, it was the world's #1 intermansion's flattery. Although it was stiff, it was very effective. Although the water is muddy and people can't see clearly, you know. But you know, Zhong Xiansheng looked at him and said, There really are fish in the water. Jiang Wang paused and said yes. In fact, he didn't care about the rumors that he had colluded with the Pingping state, that he had protected the remnants of the Yang family, and that he had killed the chief of detectives in Jiang City, because he had a clear conscience, and there would always be a way to find out the truth. The only thing he couldn't be calm about was the fact that he had protected the king of hell from entering the city. In the end, it was because he had really done it. Although his state of mind and situation at that time was different from now, what had happened couldn't be easily erased. There's no need to hide it, Cheng Gongsheng said. At that time, we didn't have many choices. You didn't have a sense of belonging to Qi, so you had to fulfill your promise to Yingguan. And I really needed your help, so I didn't want you to leave Linzi. At the end of the day, it was a choice we made together. In fact, I had a follow-up plan at that time. I wanted to send Yingguan and the others to Baya, but Yingguan didn't trust you, so he didn't give me a chance to do it, of course. No matter how many reasons there are, it's still a problem. Cheng Gongsheng smiled. I thought that things have changed with the passage of time. Since someone brought it up, it's a good time to solve this problem. How to solve it? Jiang Wang asked. Cheng Gongsheng asked, Did you pay attention to the rumor? Or did you skip it because you felt guilty? Jiang Wang frowned and repeated slowly. They said that I was secretly a killer from the King of Hell. I protected the King of Hell from entering Linzi and helped them escape afterwards. Even my Qingyang town was one of the outposts of the King of Hell. Cheng Gongsheng asked, Are you a killer from the King of Hell? Of course not. Jiang Wang said, Yingguan invited me, but I refused. Cheng Gongsheng asked again, Is there a hidden outpost of the King of Hell in Qingyang town? Of course there's nothing. Qingyang town is clean, Jiang Wang said. Very good. Cheng Geng said. The earliest rumor was that you protected the king of hell from entering Linzi, colluding with King Qingguang and Corner King to kill Su Shi, the president of the Jubao Merchants Association. The rest was added by me. The reason why a rumor is because it doesn't have a source and can't be believed. Once it spreads, even the person who spread it first can't be the authority to explain it. Everyone has the right to explain it. Obviously, my additions have made it more informative, more methodical, and more convincing. So, Jiang Wang asked. Cheng Geng said, among all the rumors, this one is the most realistic, and the most likely to get irrefutable evidence. It could be said that it's your lifeline. So soon, someone will ask for a thorough investigation of Qingyang town. I will mobilize political resources and do my best to oppose it. But in the end, this matter will be as they wish. At this point, Jiang Wang completely understood. Qingyang town could definitely withstand an investigation. Since Qingyang town wasn't an outpost of the King of Hell, and Jiang Wang wasn't a killer from the King of Hell, then the rumor that he protected the King of Hell from entering Linzi was naturally nonsense. In fact, in this seemingly overwhelming black tide, this was Jiang Wang's only weakness. And Cheng Geng just gave it a push, and it was already smoothed out. Chapter 1225. Jiang Wang suddenly disappeared in the process of hunting down the remnants of the Yang Kingdom. Soon after, rumors started to spread in Linzi City. Almost all of them wanted to kill Jiang Wang. Cheng Geng found the key point in such a sudden and chaotic situation and wiped it out with a flip of his hand. This kind of scheming was admirable. Since he already had a countermeasure against this overwhelming wave of rumors, it was no wonder that he was still in the mood to joke around with Jiang Wang. On one hand, Jiang Wang hated this fatty's mischievousness. On the other hand, he was truly impressed. He thought for a while and couldn't help but say, "You just said that this was a response based on the fact that I was still alive. I'm a little curious now. If I were dead, how would you deal with it?" "If you were dead, I wouldn't have to deal with anything." Cheng Geng looked at him. "Because at that time, no matter what the situation is, you will definitely be a loyal subject. Any dirty water that is poured on you will be meaningless. Whoever taints you will be Qi's enemy. With this power, I have ways to peel off Yulong and Li Yogui's skin and pull out their tendons." It was hard to determine whether a person was loyal or not when they were still alive. Only the dead could be conclusive. And a leader of the Yellow River who died in an accident would definitely be a loyal and righteous person. Without irrefutable evidence, he cannot be tainted with any dirty water. This was Qi's need and not anyone else's will. Cheng Geng said the words "peel off their skin and pull out their tendons" casually. Yulong and Li Yugui made it sound like they were just two ordinary names. Only in this way could his methods and arrogance be seen. Jiang Wang had been at the heart of the storm all this time. He had grown a lot, and it could be said that everyone could see his edge. When Zhongxian Sheng traveled with him, he often didn't reveal his strength. However, with his wisdom, after such a long time of painstaking effort, it was hard to tell how much his strength had expanded to. Jiang Wang laughed when he heard that. "It seems that if I want to take revenge on any of them, the easiest choice is to slit my throat now." Cheng Geng also laughed. "How can the withered bones in the grave be worthy of your repayment?" Li Yugui and Yulong. One of them was a descendant of one of the 4 great blue metal clans, a cultivator from Shunlin, a third-rank blue metal holder. One of them was a god of capture. However, according to Cheng Geng, they were nothing more than bones in the grave. Jiang Wang said, "I think that between Yulong and Li Yugui, one of them must be involved with the Pingping country. In fact, he is a member of the equal state." "It's hard to say now." Cheng Geng shook his head and said, "Both of them are experienced blue metal holders. It's basically impossible to find any flaws or clues from them. Zheng Shangming told me that the Bea is only temporarily grounding them in the name of questioning them." Jiang Wang sighed and said, I still don't understand what their goal is. Both of them are a little strange. No one is a worm in the other's stomach. No one can completely see through the other's thoughts. This is something that I keep reminding myself. Chung Gung-sheng looked at him meaningfully. It seems that you haven't realized what the main point is. Jiang Wang stared blankly for a moment, then immediately understood. In Chung Gung-sheng's previous words, the main point was, of course, Zheng Xiaoming. The reason why Zheng Xiaoming passed the message to Chung Gung-sheng was naturally because of Jiang Wang's face. However, at the same time, his message meant that, at least on Zheng Shi's side, Jiang Wang didn't have any problems. To a certain extent, this could represent the Son of Heaven's will. The Son of Heaven comforted Jiang Wang's heart in this obscure way. Today's Son of Heaven personally created the Qi hegemony. His prestige couldn't be any higher. Kindness and punishment came from the Emperor's heart. Just a few words were the golden rule. Why did he need to use such an obscure way to comfort Jiang Wang? The Son of Heaven also had his own plans. With Chung Gung-sheng's guidance, Jiang Wang could more and more clearly see that, in this incomparably chaotic and inextricably linked chess game, he was just a corner. Huang Yixing's sudden death and Chao Jie's temporary grounding were just the beginning. His life and death battle, in this chess game that suddenly unfolded, might just be the gain or loss of one or two chess pieces. Don't be too touched, Chung Gung-sheng suddenly said. How can the Son of Heaven's politics be predicted? If you die this time, you won't have to worry about your reputation, but where will you feel the Emperor's favor? The Northern Yamen's commandant, Zheng Shi, allowed Zheng Xiaoming to privately pass on information for Jiang Wang. This meant that the Son of Heaven wasn't affected by the rumors and still trusted Jiang Wang. This was undoubtedly a great favor from the Emperor. Perhaps it should make people shed tears of gratitude and be willing to sacrifice their lives for him. However, on the other hand, the cruel part was that the Son of Heaven had entered this chess game, but he didn't have any guarantee for Jiang Wang's safety. It was all up to him. For the Son of Heaven's victory, the world's #1 inner palace was negligible. After all, Tianzhou had won in every generation. Even if it was the Yellow River's #1, the value of the #1 was already there. The Son of Heaven's grace had been given enough. Now it was another victory or defeat. No wonder the wise men in ancient times didn't have a good ending. Jiang Wang smiled and said, "No matter which Son of Heaven it is, he doesn't want his thoughts to be seen through by others." Chung Gung-sheng looked deeply at this world-famous young goat. He had always mocked Jiang Wang's wisdom, but Jiang Wang was actually very smart. Stupid was only relative to him. He reminded Jiang Wang not to be manipulated by the Son of Heaven's imperial power tactics. He reminded him to be grateful and foolishly shed blood. Jiang Wang reminded him that sometimes the Son of Heaven's true thoughts weren't important. If the Son of Heaven wanted you to be grateful, then you should be grateful. Don't think that you can jump out of everything and ignore the Son of Heaven's authority just because you're smarter than others. It was only now that he realized why the Son of Heaven favored Jiang Wang so much and was much closer to him than others. Although Jiang Wang wasn't as smart as him, he could often grasp the essence of things and was very clear-headed. That's why Prime Minister Yin went into seclusion. Prime Minister Jiang was soft, Chun Ziqing was taciturn, and Tian Anping was easily crazy. Life is tiring. Chung Gung-sheng laughed and changed the topic. When King Qingguang and Corner King worked together to kill Su Shi, only the 4 of you were there. Now that this matter has been exposed, do you think it was Yin Guan who did it? To be honest, I don't know, Jiang Wang said. Although Yin Guan and I are close, we could be considered friends. However, he was not a person who would consider friendship as a consideration. In order to achieve his goal, he'll do anything. Maybe there's someone who can be an exception, but that person isn't me. When he said the last sentence, he thought of Su Muqing, Yin Guan's cousin in the lower 27th city of the Yu Kingdom. If there were no accidents, she should be living in the upper city now. As Yin Guan's reputation grew, the Yu Kingdom had to pay more attention to her. In that case, it's not Yin Guan. Exposing you at this time is meaningless to him. Chung Gung-sheng thought for a while and said decisively, "Then it's Su Shi." How is that possible? Jiang Wang couldn't agree this time. I saw Su Shi being killed with my own eyes. With the methods and strength Yin Guan has shown, it's impossible for doorless hell to reveal this matter without his approval. No matter how I think about it, only Su Shi has this need and the brains to seize this opportunity. But he's dead. Although Jiang Wang had always trusted Cheng Gongsheng's wisdom, he still felt that it was ridiculous. He saw Su Shi being killed by Yin Guan with his own eyes. This matter couldn't be fake. Ears can lie to you, eyes can lie to you. As Cheng Gongsheng spoke, he tapped his temple with his fat finger. But your brain won't lie to you. Jiang Wang blinked. What did he mean? Cheng Gongsheng saw this and explained, "Oh, I mean, if there is." Jiang Wang was speechless. You might as well not explain. Chapter 12:26. After all, they really couldn't beat him now. To prevent Jiang Wang from flying into a rage, Cheng Gongsheng hurriedly said, "Speaking of which, I've had my suspicions for a long time. When Su Shi rashly went out of the city to kill you, it was too rash and didn't fit his character. Of course, you could say that he felt hopeless about the road ahead and was blinded by failure. But no matter how you think about it, Su Shi shouldn't be such a weak person." While he was explaining to Jiang Wang, he was also quickly sorting out his own thoughts. The more he thought about it, the clearer it became. He couldn't help but sigh. Now it seems that faking his death to escape from the deadlock was really a brilliant move. He slapped his thigh. This is the Su Shi I know. Jiang Wang still felt that Cheng Gongsheng was too arbitrary in this matter. He deliberately came to me to fake his death? If it weren't for Yin Guan, I wouldn't have been able to kill him at all. Cheng Gongsheng shook his head. At that time, the Jubao merchant situation was already irreversible. He wanted to kill you in order to kill me, to take revenge on me for destroying his hard work. Then, he used Zheng Genji's hands to fake his death and get new life. As he spoke, his thoughts wandered again. His eyes lit up. The Hechang Merchant Alliance. The new merchant alliance formed by many small merchants is Su Shi's new body. Su Shi's entire plan that year had revealed its final link at this moment. The beginning and the end were complete. Now I finally understand. I've been fooled by him for so long. This venomous snake is really good at hiding. It's also very patient. The more Cheng Gongsheng analyzed, the more excited he became. It's really a blessing in disguise to be able to discover him in advance because of you. Jiang Wang had been skeptical, but after hearing the name Hechang Merchant Alliance, he immediately believed 70% of it. Although he didn't care much about the business, he had some understanding of the new merchant alliance and the Daxing Trading Company's biggest rival. He knew that this was a chamber of commerce that had grown on the corpses of the Jubao merchants. If Su Shi was the mastermind behind the scenes, it would explain why this new chamber of commerce could snatch food from the mouths of the Four Seas Business Alliance and the Zhenggenjia. Who knew Jubao merchants better than Su Shi? If it's really Su Shi, Jiang Wang said, after faking his death, he joined the Pingping state? Or is it possible that he has always been a citizen of the equal state? Cheng Gongsheng shook his head. For an organization like the Pingding state, their ideals are above everything else, surpassing talent, wisdom, and resources. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to survive until now. Su Shi was a man without ideals, so he couldn't get along with the people of the Pingding country. I'm more inclined to think that they're just taking advantage of each other. Perhaps they were aware of the existence of such a force, but they did not communicate with each other. That's because their cooperation isn't perfect. Su Shi's still very smart. Zhongxian Sheng pondered for a moment before he said, with your current status and importance in the state of Qi, this piece of information will only be of the greatest use to you at this moment. Su Shi is adding fuel to the fire and hitting a dog when it is down. Jiang Wang was speechless. Although it was very vivid, this analogy was really annoying. I know, Cheng Gongsheng said again. Jiang Wang was already used to his surprise, so he couldn't help but ask, what do you know now? I know why this game is so chaotic, and even I can't figure out at once. It's because there are too many players. Why do you say that? Chung Gongsheng calmed down and smiled. In front of Jiang Wang, he showed that he had the pearl of wisdom in his hands. You said that you think the person who killed Huang Yixing is Yang Xuanzi, right? Jiang Wang said with certainty, yes. This is the conclusion that Lin Yuxi and I made together. Huang Yixing stepped on the reputation of the Yang family to get to the top, so Yang Xuanzi definitely had a reason to kill him. Coincidentally, General Chao's reprimand was reprimanded, so Yang Xuanzi faked his suicide and caused a conflict between the new and old Qi. This is also a smart trap. Chung Gongsheng analyzed, but this trap is easy to break. Just like what the Imperial Court did, they sent you to investigate the case and use the representative of the new Qi to investigate the new Qi. Everything will be solved easily. If I were a member of the Pingping state, I would know that this trap has been solved as soon as I saw that the Emperor personally appointed you, the chief of the Yellow River, to investigate the case. So, at this point, the Pingping state, which had been defeated before, made a move. They set up another trap on top of Yang Xuanzi's trap. What kind of trap is this? Jiang Wang asked. Chung Gongsheng shook his head and said, all strategies must be based on intelligence. Just like how if I hadn't deduced that Su Shi wasn't dead, I wouldn't have been able to deduce this step. With the current conditions, I still can't see the whole picture of the Pingping state's trap, and I don't know their purpose. The information I can confirm now is very limited. First, the Pingping state's trap was built on the foundation of Yang Xuanzi's trap. It was a trap that went with the flow. Only in this way could it be launched so suddenly and hard to guard against. In one night, it became a sweeping force. Su Shi saw an opportunity in this trap and added another piece. In addition, there are some people. I can't be sure yet. Second, Yu Lung and Liu Gui. It's hard to say who is related to the Pingping state, and they might even have nothing to do with it. At this step, you only need to provide a reliable source of information. If it were another blue metal person chasing after Yang Xuanzi, you might also follow without thinking. This fatty's mind was really smaller than the tip of a needle. He didn't forget to ridicule while analyzing. Jiang Wang couldn't think of so much himself, so he could only swallow his anger for the time being. What else? But at least, the person chasing after you must be from the Pingping state. Nonsense. Jiang Wang seized the opportunity and immediately retorted. I'm the one who told you this. Chung Gongsheng said. Then tell me the third one. Jiang Wang rolled his eyes. Third, since the Pingping state doesn't want me to return to Qi and has been chasing me to the west, then I should rush back to Qi now. I must do what the enemy doesn't want me to do. This is the way to victory for the military. Not bad. Lord Jiang, where did you learn this? Jiang Wang smiled proudly. Li Longchuan often recites military books. I also remember a few sentences. This is called an armchair strategist. Chung Gongsheng attacked mercilessly. Let me ask you, has the Pingping state stopped chasing after you? It should have stopped. Jiang Wang really thought about it seriously. Even if it hasn't, it's a good opportunity for me to go back to Qi and fish her out again. Do you think she's as easy to fish as you are? The Pingping state can set up such a trap. How can they not think of the fact that you're back in Qi? Chung Gongsheng casually said, and then said, since you know that the person was chasing you to a farther place, why didn't you think that they stopped chasing you because they don't care if you go back to Qi or not? They even are waiting for you to come back? Jiang Wang made a final struggle. They didn't stop chasing me on purpose. It was Gu Shi who saved me. How do you know if Gu Shi is a human or a ghost? How close are you to him? You mean there's something wrong with Gu Shi? It's not necessarily a problem. It's not impossible for there to be a problem. But I'm sure, with the Pingping state style, if you go back to Qi now, there will be more tricks waiting for you. Chung Gongsheng said. That's why you can't go back to Qi now? You shouldn't have left the chessboard, but since you left for a short time, you shouldn't jump back. Jiang Wang was stunned. Then where should I go? Chung Gongsheng waved his hand. Find a place to go sightseeing. You can come back after I've dealt with this matter and settled all future troubles. Jiang Wang thought for a while and asked, what do you think is waiting for me if I go back now? How would I know? Chung Gung curled his lips. It's not like I don't know how to calculate. Okay. Jiang Wang raised the corner of his mouth and smiled. He saw the sadness in Jiang Wang's usually clear and calm eyes. Chung Gongsheng knew that Jiang Wang still couldn't stand the situation where his reputation was being trampled on. One moment, he was famous in the world, and the next moment, he was drenched in dirty water and hated by everyone. From heaven to hell, it only took one night. If anyone put themselves in his shoes, it would be difficult for them to be at peace. Jiang Wang didn't say anything, but he was a little hurt in his heart. So he explained, but when they really use their tricks, we may not be able to stop them. No matter how conceited I am, I can't take your life as a joke. Listen to me. Since you've jumped out of the chessboard now, you should go sightseeing. Let those big shots play this game of chess themselves. When the dust settles, you'll still be the #1 in Qi, Tianjiao, and the #1 in the world. There will be countless people who will clear your name. Since others are using you as a chess piece, then don't think too much when you jump out. No matter how they play, go play your own game. He looked at Jiang Wang, encouraging him and himself. If we really play a game, we'll be chess players in the future. Chapter 1227. When Jiang Wang exited the great illusionary land, the dog was still there. Of course, the iron berry had been eaten clean. Not even the peel was left. The little greyhound was still licking the floor. Jiang Wang put away his stealth clothes and waved at it. Come here. The little greyhound's wagging tail suddenly stopped. It turned its head and saw Jiang Wang in the corner. It turned around vigilantly and pressed its 4 limbs to the ground. It bared its teeth at Jiang Wang and growled threateningly. Jiang Wang looked at it with amusement. Little thing, you ate my food and you're still giving me that look? The little greyhound obviously didn't understand what he was saying, but should be able to feel that the stranger in front of it was not afraid of its threat. So it immediately barked. Woof, woof, woof. It was a good seedling to guard the house. Jiang Wang smiled proudly. You can bark all you want. No one will come to save you even if you break your throat. With his ability to control sound, it was easy to trap the little dog's barking in the attic. The little greyhound barked for a long time, but it couldn't call for help. It was obviously a little panicked. With its tail between its legs, it ran downstairs and gave up its territory dejectedly. Jiang Wang took out an iron berry and bit into it. The fruit's fragrance instantly overflowed. The little greyhound, who had run to the stairs, suddenly stopped. It turned its head and sniffed greedily. It took a step with its short legs and wagged its tail vigorously. It ran towards Jiang Wang. It obviously recognized the fruit that conquered its body and mind. Jiang Wang lazily sat there and took another bite. The little greyhound ran closer. It was greedy, but didn't dare to be rash. It jumped back and forth in front of Jiang Wang, its tail wagging like a windmill. It opened its mouth and stuck out its tongue. It looked silly. Jiang Wang finished the iron berry in 2 or 3 bites. He clapped his hands. It's gone. The little greyhound stopped jumping and wagging its tail. It looked at Jiang Wang with its round eyes. Obviously, it had a lot of doubts and hurt. Who told you to be so fierce to me? Jiang Wang smiled proudly and stood up. I'm leaving. I'll return your territory to you. The tattered Rui immortal robe on his body was really an eyesore. However, it needed to absorb the power of the host to repair itself. In other words, it could not be taken off. In any case, it was the world's #1 inner palace, the famous Tianjiao. It was really outrageous for him to be dressed in rags. Jiang Wang took out a new set of clothes from the storage box and put it on. He felt a little uncomfortable, but before the Rui immortal robe was repaired, he could only do so. He walked along the path. Woo, woo, woo. It was the little gray dog that had scuttled to his feet again. One moment he was running in the front, the next moment he was running in the back, shaking his head anxiously. Jiang Wang lowered his head and looked at it with amusement. Do you want to follow me? The little gray dog suddenly had an epiphany. It stood up like a human and rested its 2 front feet on Jiang Wang's calf. It looked at him eagerly. It was unknown whether it was because it was so clever or because it had eaten the iron berry that increased its spirituality. Dog, dog. Jiang Wang laughed and sighed. If you follow me, you won't have a home to look after. I'm a person who has lost his home. Of course, it was not as serious as losing his home. With the group of friends in Linzi watching over him and Sheng controlling the situation, nothing would happen to Qingyang Town. However, he was now indeed driven out of his home. It was inevitable that he would be a little worried. Of course, the little gray dog did not understand what he was saying. Even if it understood, it would only be more satisfied. Where else could it find such a good thing to eat without working? Its tail wagged very vigorously. Jiang Wang still had some pity for this companion of his when he was in dire straits. Otherwise, he would not have given it the iron berry to eat. So he reached out and picked it up single-handedly. Just like that, he leisurely went downstairs. The owner of the house was an old man in his 60s. At this time, he was lying on a deck chair in front of the door, lazily basking in the sun. Jiang Wang walked in front of him. He half squinted his eyes and looked over. He saw a man in a green robe. He was tall and slender. His manner was calm, like an immortal. Just this temperament alone was a person he had never seen before. Jiang Wang lifted the dog in his hand and asked with a smile, "Old man, is this your dog? Can you part with it?" Only then did the old man notice the little gray dog in his hand. The dog was being carried, but did not feel uncomfortable. It was grinning, sticking out its tongue, and wagging its tail nonstop. "It seems that it likes you very much." The old man waved his hand. "My big dog has just given birth to a litter. This one is the weakest and is always bullied. Take it away and treat it well." "Thank you very much." As Jiang Wang spoke, he took out a piece of silver and placed it on the tea stool beside the deck chair. "This is the money to buy the dog." It was not that he could not take out more money. He was willing to spend some Tao origin stones. However, a sudden windfall might not be a blessing. "How can I accept this?" The old man suddenly sat up and pushed the silver back. "My family's mongrel is not worth much. Take it, old man. It makes people feel at ease. It is also a merit." Jiang Wang smiled warmly. He turned around and disappeared in front of the old man's eyes. The old man was stunned. He looked at the silver in his hand again. Only then did he confirm that he was not hallucinating. Just now, he really met a transcendent cultivator. However, this transcendent master was different from the transcendent masters he had heard of and had once knelt before. When Cheng Gongsheng was talking to Jiang Wang in the Great Illusionary Realm, he was actually in Marquis Ding Yuan's estate. Of course, the situation was not as simple as he told Jiang Wang. This was such a complicated game of chess. Every chess player was carrying out their will. No matter how intelligent he was, his power was limited. It was impossible for him to control the situation. He was just pulling chestnuts out of the fire. Of course, his uncle, Chongxian Chu-Liang, had always been his support. "It seems like he's fine?" Chongxian Chu-Liang asked. Looking at him now, this infamous big shot couldn't be any gentler. With a smile on his face, he leaned against the rocking chair and slowly rocked back and forth. He also spoke softly and slowly. Who would have thought that such a gentle old man was famous for killing people? Moreover, he was the best at killing people. Cheng Gongsheng, who had a similar build but was slightly fatter, heard this and said, "He should have been seriously injured, but he's safe now. I told him not to go back to Qi for now. He should go somewhere else and come back when the dust here is settled. This is to prevent those people from making a fuss about him." Chongxian Chu-Yang nodded and asked, "Does he know what the situation in the country is like now? How did he react?" "I've already told him." As for his reaction, Cheng Gongsheng smiled and said, "He's always a little sad." Chongxian Chu-Yang said calmly, "This kind of thing happened in the past, now, and will happen again in the future. Tell him not to take his reputation too seriously. He's a good person, but the way he conducts himself and does things is too restrictive." Cheng Gongsheng shook his head and said, "It's not his reputation that's restricting him, it's his will. He's willing, so he does it. He's not willing, so he refuses. Chasing after fame is also chasing after benefits. It's not what Jiang Wang wants. What he wants is to have a clear conscience." He glanced at the sky in the west. The sunset was as bright as blood. If one day he feels that there's no one in the world that he can't kill, no one in the world that he can't hate, he will be more evil than the evilest person in the world. Chapter 1228. The sky was high and the clouds were wide. On the official road, a man in a green robe walked slowly, stepping on the green clouds. He looked calm and unhurried, but his speed was extremely fast. His chest was bulging. After a while, a small head with gray hair popped out. It blinked its eyes, looking a little confused as if it had just woken up. The man and the dog were Jiang Wang and the little gray dog he had just adopted. It was not that Jiang Wang liked to fly close to the ground and limit his vision, but he had not fully recovered from his injuries. He did not know what was going on in Pingping, so he had to keep a low profile. When he was escaping earlier, he did not have time to investigate. He only knew that he had run south. After leaving the small town, Jiang Wang knew that he had arrived in Xiang. This country had giant elephants, and the people of Xiang worshipped them in temples. Jiang Wang did not see them. After all, the place where the giant elephants lived was their sacred place. It was not open to the public, and now, he did not have much curiosity. But since he was in Xiang, he naturally had to go to Xingyue Plain. First, to replenish the star power of the totem. Second, to communicate with Master Guanyin. Third, he could not find out if there were any experts following him, but Master Guanyin could help him check. As Jiang Wang flew, he took out an oiled paper bag. He opened it, held it in his palm, and opened it in front of the little gray dog. In the oiled paper bag, there were pieces of chicken thigh meat. The little gray dog's confusion was swept away, and it suddenly became very energetic. One bite, one bite, one bite. It ate happily. Compared to its size, its appetite was obviously too good. Soon, it finished the entire bag of chicken thigh meat. After eating, it licked Jiang Wang's hand to please him. Jiang Wang made a sound of disdain. He activated the water element and washed his hands. Seeing the thin water flow dancing in the air, the little gray dog immediately shrank back, obviously remembering the painful experience of being forced to take a bath. The man and the dog went straight to Xingyue Plain. Rome was an inconspicuous small country in the eastern region. In the past, one of the more memorable events was probably the year 3918 of the Taoist calendar, when the Rome Kingdom was the first to issue a letter of credence, announcing to the world that the Yang Kingdom was wreaking havoc. This should be a matter of national responsibility. On the whole, the Rome Kingdom might have averted a great disaster and saved the eastern region from calamity. Of course, this was only what the people of the Rome Kingdom thought at the time. The truth was that Xi had mobilized his army to wipe out the evil, and, at the same time, he had taken over the Yang country. The reputation and practical benefits would all belong to Qi. For a long time, the Rome Kingdom was the laughingstock of other countries. After putting in so much effort, he ended up becoming Qi's neighbor. It was like a rabbit taking the initiative to sleep beside a tiger's mouth. How could there be such a foolish country in the world? However, at the Yellow River Conference in the year 3919 of the Tao calendar, Rongwa had indeed changed the views of many people. Lin Xian, who had the unfettered divine power, used a wood chopping knife to leave his own brilliant light on the Riverview platform. It was true that he was far from being comparable to Jiang Wang of the Qi Kingdom. However, if Jiang Wang were to be excluded in the entire eastern region, only Jiang Shaohua of the Shun Kingdom could be compared to him at the intermansion level. The people of the Rome Kingdom had already called Lin Xian the top 3 in the eastern region's inner palace. The so-called top 3 in the eastern region's inner palace was actually not that impressive. However, this was also a form of consolation. It meant that the Rome Kingdom might still have a future. This was because the shadow looming over the Rome Kingdom was already so huge. Those who were truly clear-headed actually knew that the Rome Kingdom had hidden Lin Xian for a long time. His sad end at the Yellow River Conference basically meant that the Rome Kingdom's efforts had failed. No matter how much they struggled, they would only repeat the Yang Kingdom's past. even to the extent that the Yang land merging into the Qi land might be the best outcome. There were actually many worse outcomes. For example, the Qi kingdom did not want to treat the Rong kingdom as the Qi kingdom. Instead, they wanted to turn the entire Rong kingdom into a nest of beasts. Luoguang City was an important border town. It used to be a border town between the Rong kingdom and the Yang kingdom. Now, it was directly connected to the Qi kingdom. The garrison strength had increased by more than 2 times. Compared to the sparse Qi troops stationed at the border, the Rong kingdom's troops could be said to be on high alert. However, the Qi kingdom's soldiers all held their heads high and their chests puffed out. Although the Rong kingdom's soldiers did not cower, they were all exceptionally nervous. This was something that could not be helped. The difference in strength between the two countries was so huge that it was difficult for any famous general to maintain high morale. As a military town, Luoguang City naturally did not have a relaxed atmosphere and developed businesses like those normal cities. There were pitifully few places for entertainment. Therefore, when the fat man cursed and said, "What kind of stupid city is this? There's no place to play with money," it was not surprising. That's right. The thin man beside him agreed. Although it was not uncommon for people to complain that Luoguang City was boring, when the fat and thin men walked together, it was still rather eye-catching. There's no other way. The fat man sighed helplessly. Since we can't play, let's get down to business first. Third brother, can we play for a while more? The thin man said bitterly. I don't want to work. Smack. The fat man slapped the back of his head and said righteously, It's shameful to lie flat. If you don't work, what will I eat? Where will my expenses come from? The thin man rubbed his head and said pitifully, All right. Thus, the two of them walked north. After walking for a long time, they passed by many people and many houses. The fat man suddenly stopped and took out a map from his pocket. He compared it to the map carefully. Then, he turned around and walked south without a word. The thin man followed behind. After walking for a while, he could not help but ask, Third brother, did we go the wrong way just now? The fat man turned around and stared at him. The thin man pursed his lips. I was just asking. Li Lao Si. The fat man scolded. If your brain isn't working well, then don't talk so much. Do you know what it means to scout? We are bad guys. We have to always think of a way out. This is called preparing an umbrella before it rains. Do you know? I know, the thin man said pitifully. Annoying. The fat man shook his head and arrogantly continued to lead the way. This time, the two of them did not go the wrong way. Following the map, they quickly found their location. TSK, someone lives here. The thin man appeared to be troubled. So troublesome. In front of them was a courtyard that occupied a large area. 2 strong doormen looked at them warily. What are you doing? Not sure if it was because this place was too remote or for some other reason. At this time, there was no one on the street. The fat man didn't say anything. He simply grabbed one head in each hand as if he was picking peaches. Then, he kicked the door open and strode in. The thin man simply cleaned up the bloodstains. He carried a headless corpse on his shoulder and followed into the courtyard. He casually threw the 2 corpses on the ground and turned around to close the door. After all, the door bolt was broken and could not be closed. Bang, bang. He pounded on the door twice and said angrily, Third brother, you used too much strength. This door can't be fixed. At this time, the fat man was slapping a maid's head into her chest. He grabbed the corpse and threw it back. The corpse was just right behind the door. He said angrily, Isn't this the end? Idiot. Tisk, the thin man seemed to have discovered a new world. He clapped happily and said, Let's see who can stack the highest. The fat man rolled his eyes. It's not fun at all. But his feet slipped, and he quickly rushed into the inner room. Don't be shameless. The thin man yelled and followed closely. Soon there was a scream from inside, but the sound could not travel far. Chapter 1229. The night breeze blew freely over the vast Star Moon Plain. The little gray dog was having fun. It was running around in a 500-meter radius with Jiang Wang at the center. Because it was too small and the grass in the Star Moon Plain was very lush, one could only see a pile of fluttering gray fur when it jumped. It wasn't just playing around. It hadn't completely absorbed the iron berry yet, so it was still full of energy and needed to run around a vent. Jiang Wang, who was sitting cross-legged and bathed in pure starlight, was naturally conversing with Master Guan Yin. "Master Guan," Yin said with a smile, "why do you always seem a little embarrassed when you see my young friend?" Jiang Wang blushed. "I don't want to—" Master Guan Yin didn't want to embarrass him too much. He changed the topic and asked, "Why did you bring a dog with you this time?" "It's a bit of fate. It just happens to like me, so I decided to keep it." Master Guan Yin sighed. "I haven't seen a dog in a long time. This kind of animal doesn't exist in the forest ocean origin realm." Jiang Wang recalled how the yellow-faced old monk and the other monks had stolen Luhua chicken to eat, as well as how Kuju had scolded them for doing that. He couldn't help but ask, "Master, do you like dog meat too?" Master Guan Yin was obviously taken aback. His voice transmitted through his astral power was somewhat intermittent. "You raised it for eating?" "Not really." Jiang Wang naturally couldn't say. He thought it was a tradition of the Xiankong Temple. He only said, "Sometimes I feel that dogs are really easy to satisfy." He glanced at the little gray dog that was jumping around. This poor thing was still so happy that it had no idea what its master was talking about. Contentment is a great wisdom. Master Guan Yin seemed to have thought of something, and nostalgic feelings spread through his astral power. Jiang Wang asked, "Master, did you rarely feel so embarrassed when you were young?" Master Guan Yin thought for a moment before replying, "The Xiankong Temple is still very strong. The Xiankong Temple would definitely take care of a top figure like Master Guan Yin. Moreover, Master Guan Yin's master and grandmaster were all experts. They would not allow others to bully their juniors. With Master Guan Yin's natural talent and background, perhaps he hadn't suffered much before he entered the forest ocean origin world. His life before entering the forest ocean origin realm had probably been similar to Yung Genzuan's. He had been in the limelight since he was a child, and his entire life had been filled with applause. Perhaps the biggest setback was the sudden rise of the chubby younger brother, which threatened the position of the family successor. With such a comparison, it seemed quite sad. Jiang Wang, however, felt neither remorse nor resentment. "When I was in the outer sect of the Tao Academy, an ordinary bandit stronghold was enough to put me in a difficult position. When I had just transcended, a soaring dragon stage cultivator was already able to put me in a difficult position. Right now, although I still appear in front of you in a sorry state, it's because I'm already an expert above the divine descent realm." His tone was confident and calm. "I believe that as long as I keep moving forward, there will be fewer and fewer people and things that can put me in a difficult position." "Wonderful." Master Guan Yin smiled. "With a heart like a Bodhi, there will be no worries." The state of Rome was northeast of Star Moon Plains. Further north of the state of Rome was the soul-breaking gorge. Tonight, it was the northern wind that had risen. Perhaps the wind from the soul-breaking gorge had blown into the state of Rome, which was why it was so cold. There was not a single living person left in the mansion in Guiding Light City. Only the two piles of corpses stood side by side in front of the door without a word. Judging from the height of the pile of corpses, the victor between Zheng Fei and Skinny Li had already been decided. The victor was Skinny Li. Bang! Zheng Fei sat in the courtyard and punched the ground with his fists. Damn it! Damn it! He was quite a gambler. Although he was angry after losing, he did not bully Skinny Li because of it. Skinny Li squatted beside him and chuckled. Then, he pretended to console him. "Third brother, don't be angry. As the saying goes, losing is common. If you don't lose a few times, others will think that we brothers don't know how to fight." Zheng Fei didn't say anything. Li Laosi took the opportunity to teach him a lesson. He angrily punched the ground again, causing it to shake. Skinny Li looked up at the night sky. "Sai, why isn't the fortune teller here yet? I'm getting sleepy from waiting." Zheng Fei said angrily. "He tricked us into coming to the eastern region, saying that it was very interesting and that we could have fun here. In the end, it wasn't fun at all." That's right. We brothers have a hard life." Skinny Li agreed. Then he said enviously, "The swallow's side must be fun." Zhang Fei said disdainfully, "What's so fun about a weak gigolo?" Skinnily did not mean to play with any person, but to say that the swallow's side was more fun. But since Zhang Fei said that, he nodded. "It's still the toy we met in the state of Yong. It's reasonable and can withstand the torment." Then his face fell and he was disappointed. "But he doesn't seem to be willing to play with us." Zhang Fei pursed his lips. "He'll know what's good for him when he gets beaten up." At this moment, an armored figure suddenly descended from the sky. "May I know which expert has graced Guiding Light City with your presence?" The man was clad in shining armor and had a dignified appearance. He held a guandao in his hand and landed in the courtyard with a loud bang. He was the general stationed in Guiding Light City, Jing Yi, who was at the peak of the outer tower. He used to be in charge of the defense of Guiding Light City. After the state of Yang was destroyed, the garrison of Guiding Light City increased, but no other general was willing to take over the city. Fighting against the Qi at the border was impossible, but he was the first to suffer misfortune. Many people complained that he caused trouble for no reason and caused the entire state of Rome to be on tenterhooks. But he was still in charge of Guiding Light City. Jing Yi had always been diligent in managing the army, especially after the state of Yang was destroyed. He personally patrolled the city every day without fail. Tonight, he happened to notice something strange about this residence in the city, so he came to investigate. What he saw infuriated him. He didn't say anything else. Instead, he swung his guandao, creating a several feet long guandao, and chopped down toward Zhang Fei. Zhang Fei, who was sitting on the ground, did not move. He even tilted his head and looked at Skinnily. It wasn't until the guandao chopped into his skull that he asked in confusion amidst the sudden muffled groans, "Why did he chop me first?" Skinnily remained in a squatting position. He opened his arms and compared it to Zhang Fei's body size. "Maybe your target is bigger." On the other side, Jing Yi slashed down his opponent with one slash, but he was suddenly severely injured. He was shocked beyond words. He saw that the fat man, whose head was covered in blood, turned around and looked at him fiercely. "Do you think that I, Zheng Lao-san, am easy to bully? Speak." Jing Yi knew that he had overestimated himself tonight. In a city guarded by a large army, it was unwise to come to the courtyard rashly. It would not be strange if he was killed silently. He was angry at himself for being so impulsive. It seemed that ever since then, he in this dangerous situation, he suppressed his emotions and glared angrily at the frightening fat man. His 5 prefectures rumbled as he activated them and summoned the extraterrestrial star tower. His aura rose sharply. "How dare you commit such evil deeds in the territory of the Rome country? Today, you will die without a complete corpse." At the same time, he secretly released a secret technique and tried to contact the army. But at this time, he felt that his hand, which was secretly forming a seal behind his back, was lightly pressed. A huge sense of fear descended on his heart. His hand had unconsciously loosened. Then, he saw a middle-aged man with a thin face and a long beard. He appeared in front of him and looked into his eyes. "If you don't want to die miserably, be more sensible," the man in scholarly attire said. Chapter 1230. In Guiding Light City, in the courtyard where a great battle almost broke out just now. The corpses of men and women were stacked into a very neat cube. A stone pillar rose from the ground, piercing through these corpses and sticking its head out from the center. Then it quickly spread out, forming a stone platform with complicated carvings. If these corpses were removed, this stone platform would become an umbrella shape. With these corpses filling it up, this was a sacrificial altar, or rather, a divination altar. The lives of the people in the courtyard were gone just like that. Thinking about it, if there was a reincarnation, if there was a ghost servant asking why they died, they wouldn't be able to answer. Sometimes human life wasn't as tenacious as ants. The huge difference in strength made it difficult for some cultivators to treat humans as humans. Sometimes, the human world was like purgatory, At this moment, a man wearing scholar's clothes was standing in front of this sacrificial altar. Dipping his finger in blood, he drew a frightening pattern on the stone platform. It was a headless man with strange patterns on his naked body. The details were gradually filled out under his finger. The great general of Guiding Light City, Jing Yi, was tied tightly to his hands and feet like a pig and thrown into a corner of the courtyard. Fortune teller. Zhang Fei glanced at Jing Yi maliciously. Why didn't you kill him? The fortune teller drew seriously, not turning his head. This person can't be killed, he said. Why? Zhang Fei asked blankly. Yeah, why? Li Shou hurriedly agreed. The fortune teller said calmly, there's no why. The fortune teller seemed to have a good temper and didn't care about their rude words. But even people like Zhang Fei and Li Shou knew that if the fortune teller didn't want to say, then it was best for them not to ask anymore. But the 10,000 fiend was the 10,000 fiend after all. Zhang Fei took the opportunity to negotiate. Then you have to let us play something fun. Yeah. Li Shou continued to be a follower. The fortune teller carefully finished the last stroke and put his index finger in his mouth, gently sucking it clean. Then he commented, your killing methods are too rough. Your emotions aren't enough and your state is a bit lacking. The taste isn't very good. After that, he turned around and smiled at Zhang Fei. Didn't you want to find that toy? I'll help you find it now. Not only was Zhang Fei not happy, but he was also wary. I didn't ask you for help. The fortune teller said, don't worry, I was the one who initiated the divination. We won't charge you. He revealed a slightly strange smile. I'm very willing. Linzi City's prosperity was naturally the best in the eastern region. It could be said that carriages flowed like water and horses were like dragons. The world-renowned Fragrant Three Portions restaurant could only be ranked below the 4 famous restaurants in such a majestic city, even though they had invested a huge amount of resources into it. However, during this period of time, it had been very popular. It had attracted the attention of some rich and powerful people. Xiangling, the 5th-ranked heavenly fragrance from the headquarters of the Three Fragrances House, was a living signboard that made people scramble like ducks. She was temporarily assigned to manage this branch building in Linzi City. It was said that they were going to make this place comparable to the headquarters. There were also rumors that Fragrant House was going to move its headquarters to Qi. In short, as soon as Xiangling appeared in Linzi, she attracted countless wild bees and butterflies, all fighting to catch a glimpse of her beautiful face. Although everyone knew that the heavenly fragrance and heart fragrance of the Three Fragrances House were essentially at the transcendent level. The transcendent power of the Three Fragrances House could be seen as a transcendent sect. The Three Fragrances House, which was a brothel, was different from the Three Fragrances House, which was a transcendent sect. However, because of the reputation of the Three Fragrances House, it was inevitable that people would have ambiguous associations. They always felt that the chances were very high. And this Xiangling was innocent, pure, and amiable. She was unforgettable and could not help but feel pity for her. There was a famous scholar who praised her. National beauty is pure and innocent. Fortunately, she is innocent. Her charm was exhausted. It could be said that the young masters of Linzi had to bow down to her. Of course, Xiangling rarely appeared to entertain anyone. At this moment, she had a bright smile on her face as she skipped through the corridors and turned the curtains. Anyone who saw her would think that she was an innocent girl. With a creak, she was pushed into a pink room. Ah, she said happily, my good sister, you're finally back? Mei Yu, who was dressed in black and had half her face covered by a thin veil, was sitting in her pink room. Next to her was a tea table. Her bewitching eyes turned slightly. I heard that you were drinking tea with a noble from the Zhanggenjia. I've only been gone for a few days, but you've already managed this place so well. You're really amazing. Xiangling was discouraged when she heard this. She curled her lips. I thought we could talk about some cooperation, but I didn't expect you to be just an embroidered pillow. You wasted my time. Mei Yu smiled and said, you're already so old. You should have some experience. Xiang Ling rolled her eyes. You're just an embroidered pillow. Mei Yu gently tapped the tea. You gave birth to someone like Chong Xian, Fenghua. You shouldn't be as bad as you say. My son didn't take the bait, so I had to start with my father. Xiang Ling sighed and looked very unhappy. At first, I thought he was just pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. I chatted and laughed with him and spent a lot of effort, but I didn't expect him to be just a pig pretending to be a pig. No wonder they look so similar. Mei Yu couldn't help but laugh. I can't find a mouth like yours anywhere. It's like you're smeared with arsenic. You just have to insult people. Xiang Ling giggled and leaned forward. How could that be, my good sister? If you don't believe me, you can taste it. It's sweet. Mei Yu looked at her with a smile. She didn't say anything, but she didn't avoid her either. She was 80 to 90% naive, but she was 120% charming. Halfway through, Xiang Ling felt bored and stopped. She turned around and sat on a stool next to her. She reached out for the teacup on the table, but her eyes were fixed on Mei Yu. My good sister, you're so mysterious. Where did you go? We agreed to come to the eastern region together and work together, but you're so cruel. You always make me feel lonely and can't sleep at night. Sister, Mei Yu chuckled. You have your things to do, and I have mine. Didn't we agree not to interfere with each other? Why don't you tell me where you went in the first half of March? Xiang Ling smiled sweetly. Where can I go? It's a place where decent girls go. If you're interested, I'll take you there next time. Okay, Mei Yu said. If you really want to know, I'll take you there next time too. Xiang Ling took a sip of the tea and didn't continue to pester her. She only said, Sister, this tea is really good. Mei Yu leaned back slightly and said lazily, It's hard to find peace in life, but there's peace in tea. Xiang Ling smiled and said, Since you came to Qi and drank the 8-tone tea, your realm has changed. No matter what realm I'm in, I still need you to support me. Mei Yu looked at her and said, Sister, we're on the same side. Xiang Ling shook her head and smiled innocently. Sister, you're serious? However, she said that he was an old embroidered pillow. Oh no, Chong Xian, Uncle Mingguang. He walked out of the Fragrance of Three Fragrances restaurant proudly. People said that the Fragrance of Three Fragrances restaurants Tianxiang and Xianxiang were difficult to get close to. Many high officials and nobles wanted to meet them, but couldn't. However, Uncle Chong Xian, had easily visited them. They had a simple meeting, drank tea, listened to music, and chatted. It could be seen that he was still as charming as before. He bent down and was about to get into the sedan when he saw a carriage stop not far away. A noble young master in brocade clothes came down. He seemed to be visiting Miss Xiang Ling. Cough. He coughed. Ah Shu, why didn't you greet me when you saw me? Chapter 1231. Xiaobao Shu felt that he and the Chongxian surname were natural enemies. Why was it that he could see this family everywhere he went? There was the Yung Genzuan at the ceremony of the master, and Chongxian Mingguang at the fragrance of Three from brothel. He could even run into Cheng Gengsheng when he went out for a stroll. Did the Zheng Ginjia plant spies around him, or something? Did he target Xiaobao Shu every day? He wanted to ignore this trash, but after all, he was the eldest son of Marquis Bao. Then he thought about the sun wheel that knocked him out. Ah, I was in a hurry just now, so I didn't see you. Xiaobao Shu cupped his hands in greeting. Greetings, Uncle. I didn't expect Uncle to work so hard at such an old age. He believed that he was a man of character who knew when to yield and when not to yield. However, he couldn't help but speak with sarcasm. Visiting brothels at such an old age, did the Zheng not know shame? Chongxian Mingguang laughed heartily and waved his hand. A treasured sword has never aged. You don't need to say things like old but vigorous. Xiaobao Shu stared blankly. It was actually taken as a compliment. Couldn't he understand such crude sarcasm? Was it only considered scolding in front of his face? Chongxian Mingguang didn't care about what this junior was thinking. He said in all seriousness, Ah Shu, Uncle heard that you have some conflict with Sheng and Qingyangzi. Xiaobao Shu became spirited when he said this. It wasn't just a conflict. Now, all the young masters of Linzi were calling him Xie Xiaobao behind his back. Did they think he didn't know who spread it? As the saying goes, retribution will come. That Jiang Qingyang had recently become complacent and fell down hard. It was unknown if he would return to Linzi. If he didn't take the opportunity to step on him, he would have learned the art of war in vain. He, Xie Baoshu, was the one who spread the word of homosexuality. Let's see how Jiang Wang will face people in the future. Of course, he smiled modestly and politely on the surface. Uncle, what are you saying? What etiquette can a young man get over? Some verbal conflicts aren't worth mentioning. Uncle, if you hadn't mentioned it, I would have forgotten about it. Chong Xianming Wang looked at him doubtfully. Really? Xie Baoshu said seriously. I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart. That better be the case. Chong Xianming Wang was very good at maintaining the attitude of an elder. He said earnestly, there have been some rumors in Linzi recently, but they are all nonsense and harmless. If you have any thoughts, you should restrain yourself. As your uncle, I advise you that the waters here are too deep. You won't be able to grasp it. Xie Baoshu really wanted to roll his eyes, but they were on the streets after all, and he had to maintain his composure. I am enlightened, he said good-naturedly. Chong Xianming Wang had a satisfied expression on his face. He nodded and said, Okay, Uncle still has something important to do. Let's stop here today. Young man, it's better to spend more time on cultivation. Don't always go to brothels. No matter how good Xie Baoshu was at controlling himself, he couldn't help it. You're already in your 60s, but you still come to brothels. I'm only in my early 20s. Why can't I? Fortunately, Chong Xianming Wang was already satisfied and got into the sedan chair. Otherwise, he couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't beat up the old man on the street. Uncle Chongshuan's sedan chair went straight back to his private residence in the north of the city. This residence was also the residence of the left and right neighbors. It was extremely spacious and decorated in an elegant and stylish manner. In terms of wealth, it didn't lose to Marquis Boang's residence. Chong Xianming Wang changed out of his overly bright clothes, got rid of the smell of cosmetics on his body, and changed into more proper clothes. Only then did he get into another sedan chair and go to Marquis Boang's residence. The sedan chair wasn't the kind of fancy sedan chair used to visit brothels. It was very elegant and dignified. Uncle Chong Xianming Wang's cultivation could be said to be the best in Zhonginjia, not to mention other things. The sedan chair entered Marquis Boang's residence. After greeting the old man and chatting with him for a while, Chong Xianming Wang leisurely turned to the backyard to look for his genius son. At this time, Chong Xian Fenghua, who was famous in Linzi, was leaning lazily on a recliner, reading a book with one hand. His other hand rested on the armrest. The sun wheel, the moon wheel, and the star wheel floated and rotated in his palm, giving off a wonderful charm. He really didn't neglect cultivation and leisure. Seeing his father come over, he just smiled casually and said, I just got 2 new Eastern pearls. Father, you said a few days ago that the inner residence seemed to be lacking something. You might as well use them to decorate it. Zhong Xuanming Wang was someone who treated money like dirt. Naturally, he waved his hand and said, Father came to find you for proper business. I'm not here to ask for money. He paused and then said casually, How big is it? It's not interesting if it's lighter than 2 taels. Yung Genzuan's eyes were still on the book, and he answered casually, About 6 taels. Chong Xianming Wang's face was full of smiles. Oh, he rubbed his hands and immediately said seriously, I want to talk to you about business. Yung Genzuan put away the sun wheel, moon wheel, and star wheel. He also put down the book and covered it to his abdomen. He looked at his father and said respectfully, Please speak. Chong Xianming Wang liked this very much and said rather proudly, You know about the matter on Xiao Sheng's side, right? Yung Genzuan nodded and said, I've heard. Chong Xianming Wang asked somewhat arrogantly, Have you made any moves? Yung Genzuan shook his head. This situation is too chaotic. It's easy to get burned. I'm still observing. Chong Xianming Wang shook his head and sighed. In the end, you're still too naive. You don't know how sinister people are. That fat brother of yours and that friend of his, Qin Yangzi, are not good people. They snatched our money, and they snatched it so fiercely. Now that there's a good opportunity, how can you let it go? Alas, he looked at Yung Gunzuin with an expression that said, "What will you do if you leave me? But I'm here. As the saying goes, there's reincarnation in heaven. Who will be spared by heaven? Don't worry. I've already handled this matter properly for you. You just have to concentrate on cultivation and set up the holy tower. The sooner you arrive as a god, the better. If I wasn't busy taking care of you back then, I would have. Alas, let's not talk about this." Yung Ginzuan looked surprised. He was surprised not because of Uncle Chengshuan's last words, which vaguely hinted that he had a chance to arrive as a god. He had heard it for so many years that calluses almost grew on his ears. He just pretended to believe it. What surprised him was the words properly handled. "You." He sat up. "How did you handle it, father?" Chongxian Mingguang laughed. Qin Yangzi bribed Zheng Shi with a large sum of money, thereby avoiding the Baya mission and neglecting his duties. Do you know who spread the news? Yung Gunzuin's face darkened. He had offended Zheng Shi to death. After returning from the Yellow River gathering, he had repeatedly expressed goodwill to the Baya government in an attempt to ease the conflict. He did not ask for Zheng Shi and his son to help him. He wanted them to think twice before helping Jiang Wang. He had put in a lot of effort and finally made some progress. More importantly, adding fuel to the fire at this time, was he not doing Jiang Wang a favor? He sighed deeply in his heart and forced a smile. "Father, you're getting old. You should rest more in the future. These things can't stump me. Let me do it myself." "Ha ha ha. I'm just trying my hand at it." Chongxian Mingguang was completely unaware of the problem. He was very proud of himself for being able to show off in front of his genius son. "Don't worry, no one will discover me. When I came here just now, I even warned that kid from the Sief family to behave. Others will definitely think that I'm very protective of Jiang Wang, a young man who was born a follower of the Zhenggenjia." Yung Ginzuan silently lay back down and covered his face with the book. What did he mean by, "What a blatant lie"? Chapter 1232. Even with Cheng Gengsheng's obstruction, the search of Qingyang town was finally confirmed. The ones in charge of the investigation were the Grade 4 official Zhang Weiyu and the Grade 4 Blue Metal Constable Ma Xiong. Ma Xiong was a Blue Metal Constable from the patrol house of the capital city. Zhang Weiyu was truly extraordinary. Under the Political Affairs Hall of Qi, there were 3 departments: rights, revenue, and official. They were in charge of rights, economy, and governance. Although all government orders came from the Political Affairs Hall, these 3 departments were the ones in charge of executing specific government affairs and had great power. The Ministry of Rights was in charge of foreign affairs, ceremonies, and ceremonies. For chambers of commerce like the Four Seas Business Alliance and the Dushing Trading Company, the first one they had to visit was the Ministry of Revenue. As for the Ministry of Personnel, although they did not have the power to appoint or remove officials, they were in charge of evaluating the officials. Needless to say, they were important. Specifically speaking of Zhang Weiyu, in terms of cultivation, he was at the peak of the outer building. Based on his resume, he had delivered perfect results in all the positions he had taken up so far. In terms of background, he was in the same faction as the Imperial Advisor Qin Fu. In the Qi, the 9 Imperial Advisors and the 9 Generals of the Military Affairs Hall were the representatives of the highest power under the Emperor. Any one of them was very important. Zhang Weiyu's background, ability, and cultivation were all good. Such a person was definitely not weaker than Cheng Gengsheng. Even if he strongly wanted to investigate Jiang Wang, Cheng Gengsheng could not stop him. He had never interacted with Jiang Wang. He also did not have much contact with Cheng Gengsheng, who had just shown his talent in the past 2 years. There were no conflicts. They were not like the Bao family in Zhenggenjia, who were not on good terms with each other. Although the Imperial Advisor Chen Fu and Marquis Ding Yuan and Chongxian Chu Liang had different political views, they were not political enemies. Hence, there were no personal grievances. But to say that it was all for the sake of justice, that might not be the case. What does this Zhang Weiyu mean? In the tea house where Chung Gongsheng often held private gatherings, Li Longchuan frowned and asked. 14 stood aside silently. Chung Gongsheng smiled and poured tea for them without saying anything. Yin Fu, who was sitting on the south side, said in a warm voice, "Before this incident, we all knew that His Majesty intended to appoint Jiang Wang. Who do you think is the most suitable position for Jiang Wang in the entire state of Qi?" Li Longchuan was naturally intelligent and valiant. He was very insightful in military affairs and did not lack political acumen. However, Qi controlled a vast territory, controlled overseas, and had garrison troops behind the gate of 10,000 demons. There were countless positions. It was indeed not easy to find the most suitable one for Jiang Wang. Unlike Chung Gongsheng, Yin Fu did not like to keep people in suspense. Seeing Li Longchuan pause for a moment, he directly said, "Naturally, it's the Northern Yamen Commandant." Li Longchuan's eyes lit up. Yes. In terms of rank, the Northern Yamen Commandant was only grade 4. However, he had a lot of power in Linzi. He was only below the Political Affairs Hall and the Military Affairs Hall. Although Jiang Wang was only at the inner house level, he was the top inner house level in the world. Furthermore, he was already a grade 4 blue metal martial artist and a grade 3 golden melon warrior. He was really qualified to be the Northern Yamen Commandant. Although the Kingdom of Qi was huge, it would be difficult to find a better location that was more suitable for someone of Jiang Wang's level. Furthermore, this position could only be taken by the Emperor's trusted aides. If Jiang Wang could take this position, it would be difficult for the rumors and public opinion to spread. In the future, it would be easier for him to enter the Military Affairs Hall and the Political Affairs Hall. Furthermore, the previous Northern Yamen Commandant candidates were all nominated by the previous Northern Yamen Commandant and the Political Affairs Hall. The opinions of the previous Northern Yamen Commandant were very important. Who was the current Northern Yamen Commandant? Zheng Shi. Zheng Shi had been the Northern Yamen Commandant for many years. The Emperor still trusted him. Of course, he could continue to suppress his cultivation and continue to hold this power. However, what was the best choice? One had to know that the power of transcendent realm cultivators before the divine advent realm would decline as their bodies aged. Zheng Shi had to leave the Northern Yamen before his power began to decline and become a divine advent realm cultivator. Otherwise, he would delay himself. In addition, Zheng Shi's son, Zheng Shangming, was currently developing in the blue metal system. However, he naturally couldn't directly pass the position of Northern Yamen Commandant to Zheng Shangming. It would be difficult for him to pass the Political Affairs Hall. However, Jiang Wang, who was on good terms with Zheng Shangming, was the best choice. With Jiang Wang's talent, he wouldn't suppress his strength even if the Northern Yamen Commandant had a lot of power. In other words, he wouldn't be in office for too long even if he became the Northern Yamen Commandant. Zheng Shi was doing Jiang Wang a favor now. When Jiang Wang became a divine advent realm cultivator and left his position, he could let Zheng Shangming take over. Wouldn't that be the perfect outcome? Li Longchuan immediately understood when Yin Fu pointed out the position of Northern Yamen Commandant. He couldn't help but ask Chung Gongsheng, "Commandant Zheng intends to leave his position? Does Jiang Wang also intend to take over this position?" The position of Northern Yamen Commandant carried too much weight. Even if he was the legitimate son of the Li family of Sherman, he still couldn't ignore it. If Commandant Zheng doesn't intend to, wouldn't we be offending him for no reason by saying this? Wouldn't we be treating our friend as an enemy? Chung Gongsheng smiled and said, "For Commandant Zheng, it would be an excellent choice if he could break free from his shackles and take another step forward. He's also done some things, intentionally or unintentionally, to pave the way for Jiang Wang. It's just that I can't see Jiang Wang clearly. I didn't have time to tell him either." "Yes." Li Longchuan sighed and said, "What a pity." With Jiang Wang's disappearance, he missed out on such an important position as Northern Yamen Commandant. It was a pity. He had become a third-grade golden melon warrior and could be considered to have entered the upper echelons of Qi. However, It was only in name and not in reality. If he could become the Northern Yamen Commandant, it would be very different. It wouldn't even be an exaggeration to say that he would enter the center of Qi's power. This was a staircase to heaven in one step. He had the favor of the emperor, the support of Emperor Zheng, and deep popularity. After the imperial ancestral temple presented the gift, he had the right time, place, and people. However, something like this happened to Jiang Wang right now. Of course, it was a pity. Yin Fu said softly, "You think it's a pity, but some people think it's good. That's why the problem is here." At this point, Li Longchuan naturally understood why Zhang Weiyu had jumped out. Zhang Weiyu of the Ministry of Personnel was a fourth-grade official. His cultivation was at the peak of the outer building. He had a beautiful resume and a strong background. He was very suitable for the position of Northern Yamen Commandant. However, there was only one position. If Jiang Wang didn't step down, who could step up? Originally, there was no conflict between the two sides. However, when one was a carrot and the other was a pit, it was not uncommon for them to become enemies. When it came to an important position like the Northern Yamen Commandant, even the person behind Zhang Weiyu, the Imperial Counselor Chun Fu, would not treat it lightly. It was no wonder that Cheng Geng Sheng used Tianjiao's dignity as an excuse to stop the investigation of Qingyang Town. Zhang Weiyu had to do his best in the face of this staircase to heaven. Li Longchuan thought for a while. In the end, he couldn't help but ask, "Brother Chongxian, they insisted on investigating Qingyang Town. You also objected so strongly. Is there really a problem with Qingyang Town?" Cheng Gengsheng looked at him and smiled faintly. Jiang Wang is not in the country now. His image can be dressed up and painted by anyone. Brotherly, what do you think? Cheng Gengsheng and Li Longchuan were Jiang Wang's good friends. They were true friends who were willing to stand up for Jiang Wang when he was in trouble. However, there were also differences between them. They were both born in a family of generals. They were also top aristocratic families. They were the direct descendants of the Marquis. Their feelings for the country and their loyalty to the emperor were not the same. In order to repay the favor of saving his life, Jiang Wang helped Yingguan enter Linzi. When Cheng Gengsheng found out, he helped to smooth things over. He also caused trouble for Yung Genzuan. If Li Longchuan had known about this at that time, he would have stopped Jiang Wang. In this world, everyone had their own thoughts. Everyone had their own life and desires. Even if they were good friends, they could not always be on the same page. Seeking common ground while reserving differences was the truth. However, if there were differences that could not coexist, no matter how good a friend was, they could only cut ties. Cheng Gengsheng did not answer Li Longchuan's question. Instead, he asked him if he was willing to trust Jiang Wang without reservation. Li Longchuan had his own principles. He was willing to trust Jiang Wang. He had proven it many times before, but he would not trust him without reservation. The atmosphere in the tea room suddenly became solemn after Cheng Gengsheng's question. Speaking of which, Yin Fu said at this time, "Where is Jiang Wang now?" Cheng Gengsheng retracted his gaze and said with a smile, "I told him not to come back for now. He went sightseeing. It seems that Brother Chongxian has a card up his sleeve. Then I am relieved." Yin Fu smiled and stood up. "Miss Wen is still waiting for me to go sightseeing with her. I will leave first." He looked at Li Longchuan. "Brotherly?" Li Longchuan nodded slightly and also stood up. "Since there is nothing else, I should go back. My sister has come back recently. She has been urging me diligently." Yin Fu was already walking out. He turned back and smiled at Cheng Gengsheng. "Tell Jiang Qingyang to have fun. Spend as much as he wants. When he comes back, he will reimburse me." Chapter 1233. After leaving the tea house, Li Longchuan boarded Yin Fu's luxurious sedan chair. The two of them sat opposite each other and did not speak for a while. This time, the sudden confrontation between Zhang Weiyu and Zhong Xiansheng was very intense. First, he wrote a poem on merits and faults. It was hundreds of words, and the words were beautiful. It was well used and spread all over Linzi. The core of the discussion was whether merits could offset demerits. The debate was more intense than it had been the past 10 years. It was comparable to when Su Fong scolded the crown prince. On one side, the theory of merits and faults was used for whistling, while on the other side, there was also the hero of the nation, which was used for throwing spears. The debate was so intense that it attracted many people from the court. In the end, the public opinion was, merits are merits, demerits are demerits. There is no need to consider past demerits when discussing merits. There is no need to consider past demerits when punishing demerits. Thus, a fledgling imperial censor submitted a memorial to the imperial court to request for an investigation of Jiang Qingyang. This was a political battle in all aspects, from public opinion to the court. Cheng Gengsheng, who was passively fighting, and Zhang Weiyu, who was actively attacking, attacked and defended at all levels. On one hand, Cheng Gengsheng quickly organized the debate to correct Jiang Wang's reputation. On the other hand, he kept digging into Zhang Weiyu's problems. At the same time, he stirred up a commotion in the court and questioned the intentions of killing a hero. He almost helped Jiang Wang turn the tables when Jiang Wang was not around. Unfortunately, there were too many mud stains on Jiang Wang. If he did not clean up, it would not be justifiable. Cheng Gengsheng's strategy was not good enough. Many people had expected that the final result would be a thorough investigation of Qingyang town. It was not his fault. In the eyes of the onlookers, Cheng Gengsheng's political ability and the mobilization of Zheng Genjia's political resources were shocking. It turned out that, unknowingly, the chess piece that was pulled up to attack Yung Genzuan had already gained a firm position. His control over the political resources related to Zheng Genjia was already above that of Yung Genzuan. In other words, within the Zheng Genjia, most people supported Cheng Gengsheng even though Cheng Xian did not express his opinion, even if his opponent was Cheng Xuan's Fenghua. In fact, there were already clues to this situation. It was just that this time, it was clearly seen by others. After dismembering Yung Genzuan's private businesses, Cheng Gengsheng had already tied up with many elders. His overseas arrangements had also firmly isolated Yung Genzuan's influence. After Yung Genzuan came out of his closed-door training, his biggest chance to turn the tables was at the Yellow River meeting. He was also very clear-headed. After understanding the situation, he didn't do anything superfluous. He only focused on preparing for the battle of the Yellow River. He had indeed done his best. Unfortunately, he met Dou Zhao, and the person who won the battle of the Yellow River was Jiang Wang, who was on good terms with Cheng Gengsheng. All the glory belonged to Jiang Qingyang. In many people's eyes, Cheng Gengsheng's confrontation with Zhang Weiyu this time was not so much to protect Jiang Wang, but to show his strength. He wanted to show that even if something happened to Jiang Wang, he still had the support of most people in Zheng Genjia. In the eyes of friends like Li Longchuan and Yin Fu, what they saw was Jiang Wang's dangerous situation. Zhang Weiyu pursued Jiang Wang relentlessly and stared at Qingyang town. It was as if he was very sure that there was something there that could nail Jiang Wang to death. The outside of Qingyang town had already been sealed. If there was really a problem, it would be impossible to hide or divert it. There was some risk in getting close to Jiang Wang at this time. They were worried, so they came to drink a cup of tea and see what they could do. Cheng Gengsheng was very tight-lipped and did not say anything. But his calm and confident attitude was already an answer. "Brother Yin, what do you think about Jiang Wang?" Li Longchuan asked. Yin Fu smiled. "You have to ask yourself what kind of person Jiang Wang is, not me." Li Longchuan said, "Of course I know what kind of person he is, but I am asking about the matter. Cheng Gengsheng is right about one thing. Jiang Wang is not in Qi now. His image is up to anyone. If you really want to know the truth, you can ask him directly in the future." Yin Fu looked at him. "I don't think he will hide it from you." Li Longchuan heaved a sigh of relief. "You are right." Yin Fu just smiled. After a while, Li Longchuan asked again, "What do you think is in Qingyang town?" Yin Fu smiled. "I think Zhang Weiyu is as concerned about this question as you are." "You mean, I was still doubtful before I came, but now I am very sure. No matter what Zhang Weiyu found, no matter how accurate the information source is, it is all done by Cheng Gengsheng. We're just following Zhong Xuansheng's wishes." Yin Fu praised. If even you are so worried, Zhang Weiyu must be even more confident. But he is destined to gain nothing. How can Zhang Weiyu be so gullible? Li Longchuan frowned. He must have grasped some important clues, so he put in so much effort. This is Cheng Gengsheng's ability. Yin Fu was very relaxed. Let's wait and see. He thought for a while and asked, how about a bet? Li Longchuan shook his head decisively. I will not bet with you. If I lose, it will be painful, but if you lose, it will not matter. This is not a fair game. Ha ha. Yin Fu laughed and suddenly said, we are here. Li Longchuan lifted the curtain and was about to go out, but he looked at the bustling street and was stunned. Where are we? Yin Fu pointed thoughtfully. Walk a few steps forward and turn around that street. You won't be far from the mansion of city-destroying Marquis. Of course I know it is not far from my house. No. Li Longchuan was obviously confused. Am I going back now? His expression was clearly asking, are we not going to play? Do you think I just found an excuse to end the topic in the tea house? Yin Fu smiled. Ting Luan is really waiting for me. Li Longchuan. After Yin Fu and Li Longchuan left, Cheng Gengsheng also left the tea house. He had something important to do today. He just wanted to inform Yin Fu and Li Longchuan before he left. Other than Sure 14, he did not bring anyone else. His goal was very clear. He was going straight to the inspection office in the capital. The search team led by Zhang Weiyu and Ma Xiong was ready to go. Needless to say, Ma Xiong was an experienced blue metal arrester. However, although he was a rank 4 blue metal arrester, he did not have much say in front of Cheng Gengsheng. Of course, his supervision of Zhang Weiyu was also limited. Of course, Cheng Gengsheng would not let such a team search freely. Zhang Weiyu was a young man with a strong temperament. When he saw Cheng Gengsheng coming over, he frowned without hiding it. We are here for official business. I am afraid it is not appropriate for Mr. Chengxian to follow us. Cheng Gengsheng smiled. How can the house be searched when the owner is not around? If you casually put something here, how can Jiang Wang explain himself? Zhang Weiyu responded calmly. He had already won one round, so he had a psychological advantage when facing Cheng Gengsheng. You can ask Jiang Wang to come back and watch. You can get in touch with him, right? I can't. Cheng Gengsheng looked serious. Jiang Qingyang is the hero of the country, but he was framed and chased. I don't know if he is alive or dead. I didn't expect someone to be so ruthless and evil as to set fire to his backyard. Stop talking nonsense. Everyone knows what happened. Zhang Weiyu interrupted him. Just say what you want to do. Cheng Gengsheng pouted. Jiang Wang is not around, so I represent him. His responsibilities and obligations are all on my shoulders. Therefore, I have to be there for this search. You represent him? Zhang Weiyu raised his eyebrows. You're using the Zhenggenjia as a guarantee for Jiang Wang. If this was really the case, then he really had to reconsider. Cheng Gengsheng's weight could not be compared to the Zhenggenjia's weight. My ancestors are still around. How can I represent the Zhenggenjia? Cheng Gengsheng laughed softly, but his expression suddenly became serious. I am using myself as a guarantee for Jiang Wang. Zhang Weiyu was silent for a while. Then he suddenly laughed. This is not a joke. There is no need to guarantee. If Mr. Chengxian wants to follow us, then follow us. I am impartial and am not afraid of being supervised. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.